Phoenix Knights. Chapter 980. The ancient mottled spear in the Saint Master's hand shot out like lightning, disappearing without a trace the moment it was thrown. Pooh! Ripples appeared at the entrance of the great void heaven temple from afar. The mottled spear appeared with a terrifying might and bombarded the entrance. However, it only caused ripples. Moreover, there were also traces of saber light that blocked the power of the spear. Saint Master, the great void heaven temple does not welcome you. A cold voice came from another space. The Saber Emperor is here as well. The Saint Master knew that the situation was bad. It was obvious that the other party had come prepared. With Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu restraining them, it was impossible for him to easily break through the great void heaven temple, which was guarded by the Saber Emperor. The Saint Master extended his hand, and the mottled spear returned to his hand. You have too much faith in that sword, Master. My things are not that easy to snatch. The killing aura emitted from the Saint Master's body became denser. Let's give it a try. Jie Zhu smiled. Wu Zhu stood calmly at the side. Stubborn. The Saint Master's aura suddenly rose. Boom! Countless lightning bolts appeared above the Saint World. The gray lightning bolts were like huge electric snakes that swam around recklessly. Some of them even struck the ground below. These lightning bolts were unusually violent, but they were all around the Saint Master. The Saint Master's skin became slightly transparent, and there were countless lightning bolts swimming around inside his skin. He held the spear, and the surface of the spear was also surrounded by gray lightning bolts. Wu Zhu, be careful. The Saint Master has gone crazy. World Ancestor remained beaming. Ancestor Sorcerer remained solemn by the side. The black shackles on the surface of his body abruptly expanded and became longer. Every single black shackle caused the surrounding space to distort and collapse. It was as though the surrounding of the shackles contained the birth and destruction of cosmos. Clearly, World Ancestor Sorcerer was on high alert. Boom! The Saint Master took the initiative. With a single step he arrived. The spear seemed to be simply thrust forward, but it contained a strange charm. The spear pierced towards Wu Zhu. Clearly, in the Saint Lord's eyes, Wu Zhu was relatively easier to deal with. Hua hua hua! 9 black chains danced in the air, each one of them profound and unfathomable, causing the surrounding space to rapidly shrink. The originally 500-kilometer space was forcefully shrunk to a 500-kilometer space, making it impossible for the Saint Master's pike to dodge. Within the 500-kilometer space, the 9 black chains seemed to fill every inch of space as they collided with the pike. Dang, there was a loud collision, and Wu Zhu was sent flying backward. Haha, come play with me. Jie Zhu laughed as he charged over. Scram! The Saint Master waved the pike in his hand. Although he wasn't a cultivator of the laws and profound mysteries lineage, his combat level was very high, and his pike was very powerful. However, Jie Zhu didn't care. He waved both his hands and rushed over. His speed was extremely fast, and the pike smashed onto the scrawny Jie Zhu's head, causing it to cave in and become deformed. However, Jie Zhu was still grinning. He didn't even lose a single strand of hair, nor did his skin break. His deformed head was restored to its normal state. Pooh! Shio! Boom! In an instant, the Saint Master's tens of pikes smashed onto the scrawny Jie Zhu's body. In terms of power and profundity, the Saint Master was above Jie Zhu. Jie Zhu was beaten to the point where he couldn't even retaliate. However, Jie Zhu wasn't injured at all. His body could be as big as he wanted it to be, and as small as he wanted it to be. At times, his body would be as hard as a cosmos secret treasure, and at times, it would be as soft as a flowing river. His body would disperse at will, and condense at will. Faced with this kind of enemy that could not be killed no matter what, the holy leader was also somewhat helpless. Go! At the side, numerous black chains started flying out from the surface of Wu Zhu's skin. These chains were very small, but as they flew out, they grew larger and larger. There were more than 10,000 black chains, causing the entire sacred world to tremble. The two of them. The Saint Master was furious. Wu Zu was an existence that created the witch cultivation system. If he was given some time, he would be able to unleash some terrifying techniques. Clearly, this ancestor of witch cultivation had extremely sinister and bizarre techniques. If it was a one-on-one, the Saint Master wouldn't give Wu Zu any time. However, with Jie Zhu helping out from the side, it was obvious that Wu Zu would have sufficient time to unleash his techniques. Boom! As the Saint Master and Wu Zu exchanged blows, the entire sacred world trembled. Cracks appeared in the heaven and earth, but they healed up again and again. Within the great void heaven temple, Dongbu Shuiying and the rest could feel the terrifying commotion from the battle outside. What's going on? Dongbu Shuiying immediately peeked through the black fog spherical hole. Because the Saint Master and the rest were fighting outside the great void heaven temple, they were very close to each other. Dongbu Shuiying peeked, and saw everything clearly. Saint Master! Dongbu Shuiying saw it. He saw a figure that looked exactly the same as the one on the ancient saint's statue. His appearance was neutral, and if he were to change into female clothing, he would most likely be considered a beauty. His appearance was pure and holy, and he had a hint of the supreme laws of the primal chaos void. His every movement carried a terrifying pressure. Saint Master, it's him! It's him! An uncontrollable killing intent surged out from Dongbu Shuiying's heart. His master, Gu Qi, had died in his hands, and he hadn't even had the chance to meet his master. This madman? This man wanted all living beings to submit to him and be loyal to him. Not even their souls were free. Is this his true strength? This was the first time Dongbu Shuiying saw the Saint Master's true strength. Too strong. Terrifying lightning surrounded the Saint Master. He held a mysterious ancient spear in his hand, and every move he made caused the entire sacred world to tremble. His speed was so fast that it surpassed the range of what Dongbu Shuiying could see. He could only see that under the attacks of the Saint Master, Jie Zhu could only rely on his body to resist and pester him. As for Wu Zu, he hid far away and prepared one terrifying move after another. However, the terrifying move that Wu Zu prepared was something that the Saint Master was able to forcefully break apart. Even though it was 1 against 2, the Saint Master was clearly at an advantage. The entire 7-star oceanic sacred world trembled, and cracks appeared one after another. Too strong. Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. One must know that Wu Zu and Jie Zhu could be said to be existences that were closest to the Saint Master level. For example, the secret treasure 12 elemental beads bracelet that he had on him could only block Wu Zu and Jie Zhu for 1 or 2 seconds. Like at this moment, when Wu Zu spent so much time preparing his move, it was a move that his 2 great secret treasures could not resist against, and he would die. But the Saint Master could casually break it apart. A casual move of his could exterminate existences at the level of Dongbu Shuiying. Destroying the world. Destroying a sacred world wasn't something difficult to him. The gap between me and him is huge. Dongbu Shuiying personally witnessed it. Only then did he understand how big the gap was. No wonder the Saint Master who stood high above disdained from caring about primal chaos giants. After all, even those who stepped into the cosmos god realm could barely survive in front of the Saint Master by relying on treasures. They were not even qualified to fight with him, the Saint Master. Those who could fight with him could be counted with one's fingers, and they were all second-level cosmos gods. To become enemies with him, I have to become a cosmos god first. Dongbu Shuiying could not help but feel his soul trembling. He desired to become stronger. 9th level strength? He was considered strong amongst primal chaos giants, but he was still an ant before the Saint Master. He was still an ant even by relying on secret treasures. Chapter 981. Dongbu Shuiying carefully observed this pinnacle battle. It was rare for a battle of this level to occur. Although watching the battle was extremely tiring, and many of the moves were too fast and blurry, gradually, Dongbu Shuiying began to gain some understanding of the battle. Although Dongbu Shuiying could faintly sense many profound mysteries from the Saint Lord's battle moves, such as slaughter, destruction, light, lightning, all sorts of profound mysteries were naturally contained within the moves. However, all of these profound mysteries had a common origin, and that was the dusky lightning. The source of the Saint Lord's battle strength came from that lightning. Lightning had the power to destroy the world. It was tyrannical and extremely destructive. The Saint Lord and Jie Zhu are very similar. They both specialize in a single type of energy. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. The Saint Lord seems to have everything stemming from lightning, but his strength alone is enough to suppress both Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu. Jie Zhu, on the other hand, specializes in the physical body. By cultivating his body to an unimaginable level, his body is so strong that it's even more terrifying than those secret treasures. Even the Saint Lord's attacks couldn't harm a single hair on his body. Dongbu Shuang couldn't help but sigh. He had an understanding of the Black Emperor's 4 great inheritances, and it seemed like it could cultivate one's physical body to an extremely powerful level. However, from the looks of it, Jie Zhu's physical body was the truly terrifying one. If the Saint Lord specializes in lightning, and Jie Zhu specializes in the physical body, then Wu Zhu is much more complex. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Wu Zhu's strength lay in being mixed. He had many powerful techniques, and some of them could even be combined together to form a terrifying killing move. Even Saint Masters would have to be careful when dealing with him. But his only weakness was that some of Wu Zhu's terrifying moves required time to be prepared. In terms of killing within a short period of time, Wu Zhu couldn't compare to Jie Zhu. No wonder Jie Zhu and Ancestor Mother are publicly acknowledged to be the closest to Sacred Master. Wu Zhu said that he had relied on various methods to barely match up to Jie Zhu and the rest, but he is still lacking. Dongbu Shuang nodded. In the publicly acknowledged judgment of strength, second-level cosmos gods were on the same level as Ancestor Mother and Jie Zhu. Wu Zhu was also very close to Blade Emperor. But now, Jie Zhu and Wu Zhu can only hold Holy Master back, they can't hurt Holy Master at all. Dongbu Shuang felt heavy in his heart. Sacred Master was able to gain the upper hand even when fighting against 2. He was indeed an existence who could fight against all cosmos gods by himself. How difficult was it to kill him? I should first work hard to become a cosmos god. Dongbu Shuang thought. He knew that even though he was at the 9th level, it was still incredibly difficult for him to become a cosmos god. His foundation in the Tao of Mirage, which he specialized the most, was still insufficient. As Dongbu Shuang was carefully watching the battle, he suddenly felt something and looked up. In the distance, high up in the great void heaven temple, that lump of rolling black light that would cause others to feel palpitations suddenly fell downwards. It directly fell into the cavern dwelling of Sword Master, fusing into that cavern dwelling before disappearing. What happened? Dongbu Shuang, Primal Chaos Hall Master, Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, Celestial Water Hall Master, and others were watching with wide eyes. That terrifying black light actually fell into the cavern dwelling of Sword Master? Ha! Forefather Tian Yu and Blade Emperor, who were responsible for protecting the place, revealed a look of joy when they saw this. That is really fast. Blade Emperor praised. It seems that Sword Master has accumulated enough strength to control it so quickly. It has only been the time taken to brew a cup of tea. Haha, it is much faster than expected. Forefather Tianyu was delighted too. He knew that the strength of the Great Void Heaven Temple would greatly increase from now on. The battle between Sacred Master and Jie Zhu and Wu Zhu merely lasted for the time taken to brew a cup of tea. Sacred Master, receive my sword! A cold roar sounded. 2 figures walked out side by side from the void. One was Blade Emperor, and the other was the white-haired male, Sword Master. Sword Master had a sword strapped behind his back. He pointed at Sacred Master. Chang! The sword was unsheathed. A sword light that brought with it a frightening baleful aura swept across the world. It brought with it a power that caused the sacred world to tremble as it shot towards the distant Sacred Master. Sacred Master was slightly startled. He waved the mottled spear in his hand to receive the incoming attack. At that moment, Hong hong hong. A series of booms resounded. The surrounding space was continuously shattering and distorting, and the flow of time was changing. In just a short moment, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Sacred Master could not obtain victory for a moment. Jie Zhu and Wu Zhu smiled as they retreated to the side. Xiao. The sword light rapidly flew back into the scabbard on the back of Sword Master. Sacred Master also stopped. The spear in his hand disappeared. He stood there and carefully observed the distant Sword Master. Previously, I felt that you are extraordinary. But now, it seems that I have underestimated you. Sacred Master chuckled and praised. You have become a cosmos god and reached the second level without anyone noticing. Now that you have activated it, you have successfully snatched away part of my strength. Seeing how you acted previously, your strength isn't any weaker than Blade Emperor. If you cultivate for a few more days, it isn't impossible for you to surpass Jie Zhu and Ancestor Mother. Sacred Master has overpraised me. Sword Master calmly replied, cultivating in a low-profile manner for several epochs. The moment he erupted, he could fight with Sacred Master head-on. Your innate talent and comprehension ability is the best ever since the primitive ancient sacred world was born. Sacred Master chuckled. In the future, you might be qualified to become my true opponent. By the side, Blade Emperor Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu felt rueful in their hearts when they heard that. They admitted that Sword Master was an absolute talent, and his breakthroughs were rapid. More importantly, they did not see Sword Master experiencing any huge setbacks or tempering himself in battles before he reached his current realm. It's a pity that you were born too late. Sacred Master chuckled calmly. He was not frustrated at all. You were born too late, and the destruction devils are getting stronger. There isn't much time left for you. I hope that you can reach the third level before your final lifespan. That way, the world will be more interesting. Sacred Master chuckled at Sword Master before turning around and disappearing from the place. He left just like that. Wu Zhu was slightly startled. He left quite decisively. Even after having part of his strength stolen away by Sword Master, he is still so calm. The thin and small Jie Zhu said, it seems that ever since Guqi foiled the previous time, in addition to the destruction devils becoming stronger, Sacred Master should have given up on some of his previous plans. Wu Zhu nodded. Previously, for the sake of venting his anger, he even used part of his origin source energy to kill Guqi. This time, even though part of his strength has been stolen away by Sword Master, he is still so calm. He should have given up on some of his previous plans. We must always be careful when facing Sacred Master. Blade Emperor said. Who knows, he might be trying to make us lower our guard when he sees that we can't go against him. Sword Master nodded too. Ancient Sacred World. Sacred Master sat cross-legged on the black stone bed with a calm expression. This Sword Master is improving really quickly. How long has it been, and he is already able to fight with me head-on? His improvement is too smooth, and there aren't any setbacks at all. Unless he has gotten the Realm Heart Order before? Sacred Master muttered inwardly, it's a pity that I've only heard of the Realm Heart Order and never obtained it. Chapter 982. Eastern Unicorn's Sacred World. Within a restaurant, Blade Emperor and a blue-robed male were seated opposite each other. Realm Heart Order? Blade Emperor was startled. Teacher, you mentioned that Sword Master might have gotten the Realm Heart Order before? What is the Realm Heart Order? Why haven't I heard of it before? Amen. Lord Lo Cheng sat there pouring wine. As he drank, he chuckled. Naturally, you haven't heard of it before. The Realm Heart Order. There are countless cultivators in the primal chaos void, and those who know of it can be counted with one's fingers. Sword Master should have gotten the Realm Heart Order before and used it. That is why he could improve so quickly in his cultivation. Naturally, this is merely my conjecture. Who knows, he might really have a heaven-defying talent, allowing him to reach such a stage just by cultivating in closed door. Teacher, what exactly is the Realm Heart Order? Blade Emperor asked. A unique secret treasure. Lord Lo Cheng chuckled. Wanting to obtain and use it requires fate. After all, only cultivators with great talent and comprehension abilities can obtain the recognition of the realm heart order. Otherwise, you can't see it even if it is right in front of you. Can't see it even if it is right in front of me? Blade Emperor felt puzzled. Secret treasures. There were indeed some unique secret treasures like the modeled spear that Sacred Master used. Its origin was a mystery. Like the 3 fire prison realms cauldron, its origin was also a mystery. A unique secret treasure, realm heart order? Blade Emperor had never heard of it before. Go. Cultivate properly. You are my disciple, and don't let Sword Master surpass you. Lord Lo Qing chuckled. Yes, this disciple will take his leave. Blade Emperor immediately stood up. He felt a sense of urgency. He was the highest leader of the 6 great holy grounds. His teacher Lord Lo Qing might be stuck at the primal chaos realm, but his realm was excessively high. His teacher created the Star Hall and was willing to guide other cosmos gods. Even Devil Mountain Primogenitor, Jade Light Master, Forefather Tianyu, Void Primogenitor, Great Emperor Cloud Serpent, and others were willing to humbly seek guidance from him. After all, Lord Lo Qing was at the primal chaos realm, yet his strength was vaguely at the 2nd level cosmos god. In terms of realm, he would most likely be stronger than the Sacred Master. Even though it seemed Lord Lo Qing would never become a cosmos god because he had violated some unknown taboo. But his realm was too high, and there were too many who wanted to take him as their teacher. It's just that he disdained accepting disciples. Only a few cosmos gods were willing to guide them. That was why the 6 saint lands had formed an alliance. The true link between the 6 holy lands was the Lord Lo Qing. As a member of the Great Void Heaven Temple, the Sword Master could also receive pointers from the Lord Lo Qing. Moreover, he was highly valued by the Lord Lo Qing. However, the Blade Emperor was a personal disciple, so the Lord Lo Qing was the one who gave him the most pointers. Saber Emperor left. Lord Lo Qing was still enjoying his wine alone. Good wine. The fruit wine brewed by this restaurant should be ranked in the top 600 in the primal chaos void. Lord Lo Qing praised. At the same time, he pondered. When that old man Yuan left, there weren't many realm heart order left. He told me that there were only 5 pieces left. And now, there should be even fewer left. Coincidentally, 1 piece landed in the hands of the Sword Master? Dombush Shuang and the others were temporarily forbidden from leaving the Great Void Heaven Temple and the Void Castle. But the group of Hall Masters still used their incarnations to arrive outside the Great Void Heaven Temple to observe the traces left behind by the battle between the Sacred Master. Wu! The battlefield between the Sacred Master and Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu? The group of Hall Masters looked around them with shock. The surrounding region spanning a few 100 billion kilometers was in chaos. Many places were left with void ravines. The great earth was torn apart, and the remnant shockwaves did not dissipate. Many cracks could be seen in midair. They were the cracks of the sacred world. Destruction, slaughter, lightning, hex poison, all sorts of energies were scattered across the battlefield spanning a few 100 billion kilometers. Forefather Tianyu said from the side. The shockwaves of this battle have injured the sacred world itself. It is easy to destroy, but hard to repair. This area is almost completely destroyed. To repair it, the Devil Mountain Primogenitor and the Jade Light Queen will need time. Forefather, the battlefield this time is quite small. I heard that when Sacred Master battled, he could even shatter a sacred world. The Hall Masters commented. Forefather Tianyu smiled and shook his head. The battle this time is very short. Hence, the damage to the sacred world isn't that serious. If the battle dragged on, the surrounding area spanning a few 100 billion kilometers might be torn apart, and the damage to the sacred world would be even greater. More importantly, Sacred Master did not truly go crazy this time. In addition to the sudden battle, he did not have much time to prepare. The battle was sudden? Forefather, why is there a battle? What's going on with the black light above the Great Void Heaven Temple? The Hall Masters were puzzled. They did not know the cause of the battle. Sword Master's eruption this time was too sudden. Sacred Master was not prepared at all. After all, refining the origin source energy into a secret treasure required time. On the other hand, Sacred Master's reaction this time was relatively calm. He did not go crazy. Sword Master has broken through this time, and his strength has greatly improved. Currently, he can fight against Blade Emperor and Wu Zhu. Forefather Tianyu said happily. He didn't want to hide it. After all, it wouldn't take long for the news to spread. The news spread rapidly across the entire primal chaos void. All the cultivators living in seclusion were startled. They were startled at the current strength of Sword Master. In the following days, the Great Void Heaven Temple remained vigilant. The three great sacred worlds had made their preparations. If Sacred Master were to go crazy, the ancient sacred religion would start a war with them. But everything was peaceful. After Dongbu Shuang and the other Hall Masters stayed in the Great Void Heaven Temple for a few billion years, Forefather Tianyu removed the ban. Dongbu Shuang continued to travel around the world and continue searching for the destruction devils. Hong, in the primal chaos void, two figures were fighting with each other, causing the surrounding void to solidify. Every time an explosion rang out, the solidified void would distort slightly. General Mo, your utilization of the void is formidable. I admire you, but you are still lacking if you want to defeat me. The green-robed male chuckled. Receive my final move. If you can easily resist against this move, I'll admit defeat. The golden-robed triangular-eyed male sneered. A stream of light that was as thin as a cicada's wings cut through. The solidified void was like tofu that was cut through. It similarly cut through that male in the distance. That male's body was immediately cut into two. Following that, he rapidly fused back together. It's just that it was extremely hard for his wounds to heal. What? That green-robed male was startled. How is it? The golden-robed male was relatively delighted. According to what we said previously, my current strength should be at the peak of the 8th level without using the Shadowless talent. Forget it. There were also 4 figures standing in the distance, flying over at the same time. General Mo is formidable indeed. It hasn't been 1,000,000,000,000 years since he left the Lost World corridor and came to the cultivation world, and he has already reached the peak of the 8th level. This final move is truly formidable. The other 4 praised. The eyes of the golden-robed male General Mo were filled with greed. He chuckled. The kings have said that the moment I reach the peak of the 8th level, they'll allow me to act once more and eat another cultivator at the primal chaos realm. Rest assured, General Mo. We'll definitely arrange for it. The 5 subordinates said. A primal chaos realm giant and the countless cultivators from the superpower he presides over. I want to eat all of them. The body of General Mo trembled slightly. He was truly looking forward to it. Chapter 983. Within the primal chaos void, there was an extremely large continent with countless countries and cities. Countless creatures had once flourished there, yet now, it was completely empty, deathly still. Hua! A white-robed young man walked out from the distorted void. He was none other than Dongbu Shuang. The Lu Ming Great Land has been wiped out. Dongbu Shuang landed in a city. The city was in ruins, and there was not a single sentient being around. He walked step by step. His body was constantly teleporting. Cities, desolate plains, deserts, villages, icy plains, at many places, Dongbu Shuang remained calm. It was just that his eyes were becoming colder. Even though he had been chasing after destruction devils over the long years, he had discovered many places being devoured and destroyed. But this was the first time something as big as the Lu Ming Great Land happened. The Lu Ming Great Land was huge. It was much bigger than the cosmos. It was a place where the primal chaos realm giant forefather Lu Ming resided. Naturally, there were many sentient beings living here. Are the destruction devils born from the Supreme Law? Dongbu Shuang looked up at the vast void. Even if all sentient beings were to be annihilated and return to the primal chaos, it is fine to just destroy them. Why is there a need to give birth to the destruction devils and massacre them, perhaps to the supreme law that stood high above? It was a law that operated coldly and did not show any mercy. But Dongbush Shuang was a cultivator. When he saw such a thing happening, he could only feel the fury burning in his heart. Even the most chaotic myriad ancient sacred world had a large number of hex cultivators, devour class cultivators, ancient cultivators, and other cultivators. They occupied their own territories, and there were experts guarding over them. It was not that easy to devour them wantonly. Those devils were slightly weaker, and their destructive power was ordinary. But the destruction devils that infiltrated into the world were usually at the peak of the 8th or 9th level strength. They were considered at the peak of the primal chaos realm, and the danger they posed was too great. I'll definitely kill all of you. The killing intent in the eyes of Dongbush Shuang became denser. South. He continued walking around. Dongbush Shuang searched everywhere. Even in some extremely remote places where only 1 or 2 cultivators were cultivating in seclusion, Dongbush Shuang would use his illusory realm to filter. The primal chaos void was simply too vast, and with such a detailed search, even 1,000,000,000,000 years would only be considered as the tip of the iceberg. However, Dongbush Shuang still continued to search tirelessly. There's also the golden armored lairs. We have to do our best to find them. In the Lost World corridor, the 2 incarnations were searching. Since leaving the Void Castle, Dongbush Shuang had also discovered 2 golden armored lairs. However, the further they went, the harder it was to find them. On a floating fiery red boulder in the primal chaos void. This fiery red boulder was a remnant of the primitive ancient sacred world after it shattered. It was also thousands of miles in size. In the vast primal chaos void, it was considered extremely small. Now, there was a cave abode on this fiery red boulder. General Mogu and his 5 subordinates were within the abode. Phew! General Mogu sat there. He was so excited that he was shaking his head. This is too delightful. Delightful. Ha ha ha! If those cultivators knew about this, they would most likely be furious. It's a pity that the vast primal chaos void is boundless, and it is impossible for them to find us. I don't believe that there would be such a coincidence. This time, the few of us have devoured some too. It's rare for us to be so delightful. General Mogu has regained his calm. The 5 subordinates laughed by the side. This time, General Mogu had devoured 99% of the life force of that forefather Lu Ming. The other 5 had devoured the remaining. Naturally, because there were simply too many lifeforms this time, even if they devoured a small portion, the 5 subordinates still felt that it was a rare enjoyment. For instance, General Mogu had turned slightly mad when he had just devoured the lifeforms. This feeling is too wonderful. I wonder when I can go and eat again. General Mogu's eyes were emitting light. General Mogu, the kings have already said that the next time you want to have a feast, you have to wait until you reach the 9th level. The other 5 said. If one often walked by the river, how could one not wet one's shoes? There were only so many primal chaos giants. If one ate frequently, cosmos gods would definitely be more vigilant, and it would be easy for them to fall into the trap. It was only because General Mogu had a unique status that ordinary golden armored destruction devils were not qualified to act against primal chaos cultivators. 9th level? General Mogu felt helpless. This is too difficult. Golden armored destruction devils. The weakest were at the 7th level, and there were few at the 8th level. As for the 9th level? Regardless of whether it was a cultivator or a destruction devil, it was too difficult for them to reach the 9th level. General Mogu felt that even if he was given 10 or 100 times more time, he would not have much hope. This is the order from the kings. General Mogu could only accept it. The destruction devils were born to fight and kill. The grey-armored destruction devils all obeyed the orders of the blood-armored destruction devils. The blood-armored destruction devils did not dare to disobey the orders of the golden-armored destruction devils. Similarly, none of the destruction devils dared to disobey the orders of the kings. This seemed to be rooted in their bloodline and soul. Who? General Mo Gu opened his mouth. At that moment, a large number of items flew out. All sorts of weapons, storage treasures, scriptures, and others piled up into a small mountain in the courtyard by the side. These are all things that haven't been digested, General Mo Gu said. Hurry up and flip through them to see if there are any useful ones, especially those cultivation scriptures. All right. We'll check them now, the 5 subordinates answered. To the destruction devils, what truly attracted them in the cultivation world was firstly to slaughter and devour. This was an instinctive desire. The second was cultivation scriptures. They wanted to gain experience from the inheritances of the cultivators so that they could improve. Every golden-armored destruction devil desired to break free from the control of their desires and become a king. But it was relatively difficult to find scriptures. The more precious the absolute art, the more important the location it was placed in. Like the Great Void Heaven Temple and Blade Emperor City, these holy grounds collected the most precious scriptures. As for the second-tier primal chaos giants, they collected some formidable scriptures too. As for the weaker Unity Realm experts, the scriptures they collected were much weaker. Even though the destruction devils were strong, they did not dare to casually act against primal chaos giants. Hence, it was hard for them to collect scriptures. This time, after killing Forefather Lu Ming, they naturally valued the scriptures collected by Forefather Lu Ming. Shio. Many items were being categorized. General Mo Gu and his 5 subordinates were also studying these items. They took out some of the items from their storage treasures, causing more and more items to be placed in this courtyard. Good. This is an ancient cultivation inheritance scripture, and it is also fire-related. It is most suitable for me. A golden-armored destruction devil hugged onto a scripture and began checking through it. He was exhilarated. Even though he could not cultivate, the large amount of guidance within the scripture was still helpful to them. One by one, the ancient books were found. The majority of these were relatively ordinary scriptures. But the golden-armored destruction devils relied on their talent and instincts to cultivate in the past. How could it be as thorough as the scriptures of cultivators? Dang! Some weapons and other items were directly thrown to the side. They were disdainful of caring about them. Amen? General Mo Gu hugged onto a total of 8 books. Suddenly, his eyes flashed with a sharp light. He turned to the side and stared at the bottom edge of a mountain of items. Just now, he had just thrown a pile of items over. Something is amiss. General Mo Gu walked over. He extended his hand and grabbed towards the empty void. He seemed to have grasped onto something. What happened? The other 5 looked at General Mo Gu too. So strange. General Mo Gu was startled and puzzled. He stared at his hand. I can't see it and can't sense it. But it indeed exists, and it is currently in my hand. Previously, when I threw a pile of items, one of the clashing sounds aroused my suspicions. That is why I discovered it. Even though they disdained from caring about those items, they were ultimately golden-armored destruction devils, and how acute were their senses towards their surroundings? The clashing of the items allowed General Mo Gu to discover an item that he could not see at all. I can't see it and can't sense it. But I can touch it. General Mo Gu touched the item in his hand. It seems to be a talisman. Let me take a look. The other 5 subordinates were curious too. Chapter 984. General Mo Gu and his 5 subordinates were researching on this item. Indeed, they could not see or sense it. If not for them grabbing it personally, they would not have discovered this item. So mysterious. What's so strange about it? It's said that there are all sorts of secret treasures in the world of cultivators. There are even some mysterious treasures that are formed from these treasures that have unfathomable abilities. This should be some sort of mysterious item that was formed from the primal chaos void. They spoke one sentence after another. Even though they were strong, they were innately golden-armored destruction devils. In terms of experience and understanding of the myriad existences, they were far lacking compared to cultivators. Mysterious item? General Mo Gu's eyes brightened. He grabbed it and kept it into his storage treasure. This is my treasure. Even though his 5 subordinates were curious, they did not dare to snatch it from General Mo Gu. Mysterious item? Secret treasure? General Mo Gu was curious too. He would occasionally research on it, but no matter how much he researched, he could not find out what use this item had. Gradually, he threw it to the back of his mind. After all, to the destruction devils, the most important thing was to slaughter, devour, and cultivate. Time passed. Within his hometown cosmos. Long, the entire cosmos was rumbling. Even the material realm and dark abyss were collapsing. Many planets in the deity world were also collapsing. The cosmos had entered the final apocalypse. Within an enormous primal chaos flying ship, there were many powerful existences gathered within the flying ship. They had all transcended and were at least true gods. Dongbu Shuang and his wife Jingqiu stood side by side. They were looking at everything happening outside through the transparent outer wall of the primal chaos flying ship. This epic is about to end, Jingqiu said. Time has passed so quickly. Snow Eagle, do you still remember the first time we met in the Xia People's World, Azure River County? That time, the two of us weren't even transcendents. And now, the 8th cosmos epoch of our hometown cosmos is about to end. That time, I was still very young, and you are a stage 3 world deity reincarnated. You are much older than me. You are truly an old cow eating young grass. Dongbu Shuang teased. Jingqiu curled her lips. You have experienced many time accelerated cultivation outside. You are the old cow instead. All right, I am the old cow, and you are the young grass. As the couple bickered, they felt much more relaxed. The destruction of an epoch was also a process. Although the process was relatively short, it still took hundreds of millions of years. The Almighties had all arrived on this primal chaos flying ship and were watching the process of the cosmos epoch's destruction. They were also waiting to see if there would be any new Almighties being born in the final period of destruction. Only almighty existences that transcended the river of time could not be destroyed along with the universe epoch. Seeing the end of our homeworld's epoch, my feelings are quite complicated. Bloodblade, Primal Master, Monarch Green, and the others were also chatting. Although they had gone to the Great Void Heaven Temple a long time ago, they still wanted to come back to take a look since the era of their hometown had ended. After all, from the next cosmos epoch onwards, they would be repelled by their home cosmos, and would no longer be able to enter. At that time, they would be living beings of the next cosmos epoch. Year after year passed. Dongbu Shuang and the others were watching everything that was happening. Moreover, Dongbu Shuang would often go to various parts of his hometown cosmos to personally guide some universe gods in the 4th heaven. He hoped that there would be a few universe gods in the 4th heaven who could transcend before the deadline. Because transcendence meant survival. It was such a coincidence that there were 3 universe gods in the 4th heaven who transcended and became real gods consecutively when there were only slightly more than 1,000 years left before the destruction. Hua! Home cosmos, the interior of the entire universe was truly destroyed. All the planets, voids, and worlds shattered and turned into pure energy. It was like a huge paste that started to surge and spin. Within the paste, there was a primal chaos flying ship that was still within. Thousands of great existences watched from afar, watching as this era turned into a huge paste. Their hearts were filled with complicated emotions because their era had produced a demon like Dongbu Shuang. He had also brought back a large number of precious books and spread his teachings. As a result, cultivation became much easier and the speed at which Almighties were born was much faster as well. It was only until the end of the epoch that there were so many powerful existences. But compared to the countless living beings in the cosmos, the number of powerful existences was still too little. Let's go, Dongbu Shuang said. He could already sense the rejection from the entire cosmos towards them. If they were below the void god realm, they would not be rejected. After all, true gods could not threaten the stability of the cosmos epoch. But void gods posed a huge threat. The cosmos would definitely force them out. Shio! The primal chaos flying ship flew along the torn cosmos membrane and into the vast primal chaos void. Bringing along this group of people from the same hometown, Shuang flew through the primal chaos void for a few days. He specially went to some dangerous places to let them broaden their horizons. After that, Dongbu Shuang directly brought along the primal chaos flying ship and used an ultra-long distance teleportation to arrive at the Mirage City in the 7-star oceanic sacred world. The Mirage City was one of the 13 primal chaos cities in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Dongbu Shuang had an incarnation sleeping here for a long period of time and was responsible for guarding the place. Being a 9th-level primal chaos realm giant, his deterrence was huge. Even if the destruction devils had hatred and killing intent towards Dongbu Shuang, they did not dare to come to the place where Dongbu Shuang was located. They would be discovered the moment they entered the city. Dongbu Shuang arranged for his people from the same hometown to stay in the Mirage City. As for within the Great Void Heaven Temple, not just anyone could enter. Mirage City? Because Father became the Hall Master, a new primal chaos city was constructed. Go go go, let us go out and have a look. Dongbu Yu, Dongbu, and Qing Yao were relatively curious. They brought along their Dao companions and good friends to have a look. 2 young masters, let me lead the way. At that moment, a butler and protector followed along. After cultivating for a long period, even though Dongbu Yu and Dongbu Qing Yao were merely at the ruler level in the laws and profound mysteries system, they had reached the void god origin birth realm in the ancient cultivation system. After all, they were the children of a 9th-level primal chaos realm expert. Under the nurturing of large amounts of resources, it was relatively easier for them to cultivate in the ancient cultivation system. Being merely at the void god origin birth realm was considered relatively weak. For instance, the disciple of Dongbu Shuang, Xinghua Sun Yi, had easily reached the unity realm. Naturally, that was because Xinghua Sun Yi was the child of Xinghua Emperor after he reached the 9th level, and his bloodline and other aspects were relatively stronger. Dongbu Yu and Dongbu Qin Yao could barely be considered average. And their mother, Jing Qiu, had a comparatively weaker comprehension ability. The resources spent on Jing Qiu was enough to make a primal chaos realm giant feel heartache, yet she remained at the true god ruler level. The incarnation of Dongbu Shuang had awakened. He was accompanying his family and good friends in the Mirage City. Amongst the primal chaos realm, the status of Dongbu Shuang was increasingly recognized, especially those at the top like Heart Imitation Religious Master and Primal Chaos Hall Master. They were treated as equals by the cosmos gods. They knew that the golden-armored destruction devils had infiltrated into the world, and that it was Dongbu Shuang who was pursuing after them. He had even killed a 9th-level golden-armored destruction devil, and had been bitterly pursuing after them, regardless of whether it was because of his combat power or the contributions that Dongbu Shuang had made for the cultivators. The 9th-level primal chaos realm experts were filled with respect and admiration for him. The status of Dongbu Shuang had allowed the cultivation journey of his children to be smoother. But Dongbu Shuang himself was not satisfied. Even though he had been searching for the destruction devils, casting the illusory realm was as easy as lifting his hand. During this bitter journey, he had spent most of his time on cultivation, hoping to reach the cosmos god realm one day. Even though the road was long, he continued walking forward step by step. Chapter 985. Within the primal chaos void, there was a black river revolving around a small piece of land. There were cultivation cavern dwellings on this land, and several tens of millions of living beings. This was considered a very small place. South, a white-robed young man appeared above this black river. He looked down at the distant small land, and an illusory realm had descended. Because there was no suppression from the sacred world, Dongbu Shuiying's illusory realm region was too vast. This land and river added up could not even cover 1/100th of the limit of Dongbu Shuiying's illusory realm. Naturally, other than Dongbu Shuiying being powerful, the main reason was that this land was too small. This unity realm cultivator who lived in seclusion had caused several tens of millions of living beings to fall into his illusory realm. Amen? Isn't it? Dongwu Shuang softly shook his head. According to the intelligence reports, the probability of them hiding in this huge region is indeed higher. Dongwu Shuang sighed inwardly. The destruction devils did not have ultra-long distance teleportation. It was hard for them to travel through the primal chaos void in the sacred world. Those huge operations against primal chaos existences would require them to travel for a long period before arriving at a certain location. As for those small-scale massacres, the destruction devils believed that they were not willing to spend too much time on their journey. Hence, according to this point, they would draw out the surrounding regions where they would devour and slaughter. Currently, Dongwu Shuang was focusing on investigating these regions. It's a pity that he did not have any success. The primal chaos void was simply too big. Amen. Dongwu Shuang peered through the black fog spherical hole in all directions, searching for the next place with living beings. He would at least search for places with living beings. If the destruction devils were hiding in a certain place, they would definitely be extremely careful. Hence, peering through the black fog spherical hole was unable to hide at all. Under his observation, many scenes could be easily observed. A valley exploded. It's still a failure. The experiment has failed again. A hex cultivator who lived in seclusion here roared out angrily. There were natives living peacefully on the primal chaos land. Within a cosmos, there were people who believed in the ancestor mother religion. In a huge primal chaos land with trillions of living beings, outside a dilapidated shrine, there were millions of people kneeling on the ground. Sir Skywind, please save our world. Lord Skywind, please descend. Lord Tianfeng. Millions of people were yearning for it. All of them were cultivators, and even the weakest among them was at the divine spirit level. Mighty Ancestor Mother, mighty Sacred Master, almighty existences, as long as you can save our world, we are willing to believe in you. Ancestor Mother, Sacred Master, save our world. Among them, many people were also shouting crazily. Their eyes were filled with despair. The cosmos was relatively closed off from the rest of the cosmos, and the primal chaos land and the outer world were still able to communicate with each other. Hence, they knew of the final cultivation realm, the cosmos god realm. They also knew that the legendary Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother were willing to accept faith. But in the vast primal chaos void, it was unknown how much larger it was. The supreme law was also much more mysterious and unfathomable than the laws of the cosmos. Just the mention of a name could cause both Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother to be unable to sense it. Ha! The dense fog gradually appeared in midair, and an enormous figure was faintly discernible. It's coming. It's coming. No. The people who were kneeling and praying revealed looks of terror. You are praying to old ghost Skywind? Ha ha ha, old ghost Skywind has already fled and does not dare to return, yet you are still praying to him? The enormous figure in the fog let out a voice that reverberated throughout the world. I am already very benevolent. I will only devour a small portion each time. It will not harm the foundation of the entire world. You are a devil. You are treating everyone in our world as livestock, eating one batch and raising another batch. Sacred Master, Ancestor Mother, we are begging you, please kill this devil. These people were shouting with hope. The difference in strength was too great, and they could not resist at all. Facing death, they could only carry out illusory prayers. Beg? Ha ha, it is useless no matter who you beg. The enormous figure in the fog laughed. Through the black fog sphere, Dongwu Shuang was able to see what was happening. Xiao. First, he teleported to a nearby location to prevent alerting the enemy. After that, he teleported directly to this primal chaos land. Beg, beg, beg louder, haha. The enormous figure had already lowered his head and was about to start devouring. And Dongwu Shuang suddenly appeared in the sky. Hong. An incomparably huge illusory realm descended. Not only did it envelop this land, it even enveloped the surrounding 100 times of the land. Trillions of lifeforms and even the void creatures hiding at the borders of the primal chaos land fell into the illusory realm. Every single one of them had their own experiences in the illusory realm. Through the illusory realm, They could understand the past experiences and desires of the trillions of lifeforms. Even in the illusory realm, Dongbu Shuiying had given them opportunities. Some had fortuitous encounters in the illusory realm, and even obtained cultivation inheritances. Some had sufficient time to temper themselves in the illusory realm, allowing them to hone their powerful sword techniques. When they woke up, the majority of the primal chaos land had forgotten about it. They did not even know that they had fallen into the illusory realm. As for those who had passed through Dongbu Shuiying's test and obtained fortuitous encounters, they could clearly remember everything that they had experienced in the illusory realm. Furthermore, the inheritances they obtained were much stronger than the strongest inheritances on this land. As for the devils were killed by Dongbu Shuiying in the illusory realm. I didn't find them again. But there are indeed some decent young fellows. Dongbu Shuiying chuckled before leaving this primal chaos land. Very few of those who woke up in the primal chaos land could still remember their teachers, seniors, and experts. Old ancestor Snow Eagle? Island Master Dongbo? Guest of Dongbo? Dongbu Shuiying continued walking around in search of traces of destruction devils. As he executed the illusory realm, he was also continuously challenging his limits. Currently, he could allow the trillions of lifeforms to have their own encounters with a single thought. Furthermore, they were not chaotic at all and had their own rules. Living in the illusory realm was similar to living in reality. The operation of the internal laws was not much different from the operation of a cosmos. What they learned in the illusory realm and how they cultivated was a genuine improvement. Within the illusory realm, 100 years might have passed in just a short moment. And this 100 years of cultivation was a genuine improvement. This was absolutely a heaven-defying time acceleration technique. Amen? Standing alone in the vast primal chaos void, Dongbu Shuiying casually waved his hand, causing an illusory realm world to form. It enveloped a cultivator living in seclusion in the distance. But when he executed it, Dongbu Shuiying felt a strange sense of beauty. It was too beautiful. Having the experience of creating the destruction flower, Dongbu Shuiying revealed a joyous look. There were no destruction devils in the distant seclusion grounds, but Dongbu Shuiying was not disappointed at all. Instead, he was wild with joy. This illusory realm world. Dongbu Shuiying was incredibly excited. Finally succeeded? He had always been chasing after it. He was chasing after raising his Tao of Mirage to the 9th level. One had to know that the limit of the Cinnabar inheritance was merely the 9th transformation of Cinnabar, and that was merely at the 8th level strength. It was too difficult to reach the 9th level on a single path. Dongbu Shuiying had created the 3rd style of the destruction flower just a few tens of billions of years after leaving the Void Castle. But now, it had been 1 trillion years since he left the Void Castle. His accumulations were sufficient, and he had his own understanding of the cosmos God realm. But it was too difficult to take this step. An illusory realm world at the 9th level? Dongbu Shuiying revealed a grin. He was satisfied. This illusory realm world already had part of the cosmos God realm. At least, it was still lacking in some aspects. Hence, it was only at the 9th level. My Cinnabar inheritance. With a thought, Dongbu Shuiying immediately began modifying the structure of the illusory realm world within his Cinnabar inheritance. The illusory realm world of Cinnabar inheritance had been modified many times in the past, yet there had never been any qualitative change. But this time, it was different. Long. His soul was ringing. The qualitative change of the Cinnabar inheritance had strengthened his soul. A resounding cry reverberated across the endless void. A huge and beautiful Cinnabar appeared behind Dongbu Shuiying. It was incomparably huge, and its fiery red wings enveloped in all directions. Its power was so great that it caused many worlds to appear in the surrounding billions of kilometers. Within the illusory realm world, myriad existences were gradually being born. To those myriad existences, this illusory realm world was real. Clearly, Dongbu Shuiying's illusory realm world was quite lacking compared to the real cosmos. This is the 10th transformation of Cinnabar. Dongwu Shuang thought as he felt his soul becoming stronger. Today, he was participating in an activity in SH, and it was slightly late for him to reach the hotel. Damn, it was already one night today. He would first record the debt in his account. Chapter 986. After creating the unprecedented 10th transformation of Cinnabar, even though Dongwu Shuang felt excited and joyful, he understood in his heart that there was an even greater difficulty ahead of him, becoming a cosmos god. This was the final realm of cultivation, and also the final major realm breakthrough. As for the so-called first level, second level, and third level cosmos god, they were merely 3 levels within the cosmos god great realm. I can create the 3rd style of the destruction flower, and the 10th transformation of Cinnabar. These are 2 9th level techniques, and I believe it is possible for me to break through to the cosmos god realm. Dongwu Shuang became more confident. Other 9th level primal case giants would usually grasp a single 9th level technique, yet he currently grasped 2. So. Dongwu Shuang continued traveling across the primal chaos void. Even though he was considered young amongst primal chaos giants, in terms of understanding of the primal chaos void and the number of mystical and hidden places he had visited, he would most likely be ranked at the forefront. This kind of crazy exploration had also allowed Dongwu Shuang to obtain some precious materials. But given his realm, he did not care too much about these. There isn't anything here either. Standing on a piece of desolate primal chaos void land, the white-robed Dongwu Shuang stood there. He was once again peering through the black fog spherical hole. Many traces of life were being peeped through. There was a primal chaos land, there was a cosmos, and there was a cavern dwelling hidden in seclusion, Dongwu Shuang peered through more than 1,000 places before his expression suddenly changed. As he peeped through, there was a cavern dwelling hidden on top of a fiery red boulder in the void. There were 6 cultivators within the cavern dwelling, and they seemed to be at the Unity realm. Within one of the palace halls of this cavern dwelling, there was a triangular-eyed male seated on a throne. He was casually flipping through an absolute art scripture. Suddenly he waved his hand, causing more than 1,000 figures to appear in this palace hall. These people who were teleported out were relatively weak. Most of them were at the deity or world deity realm. There were only 2 at the true God realm. Devil! When the 1,000+ people were teleported out, expressions of shock and anger appeared on their faces. However, under the pressure of that invisible power, they were unable to resist. You are just food. Don't resist. The triangular-eyed man laughed strangely. His fierce eyes looked at the cultivators. Swoosh! When Dongwu Shuang saw this, his expression changed. Another evil demon? A devour-type cultivator? He did not think that the other party was a destruction devil. Because over the long years, he had chased after and killed too many devils, and countless devils had been killed by him. So when he encountered this kind of thing, his first reaction was that he had encountered another evil devil. Shuang would kill those cultivators who wantonly devoured humans without mercy the moment he met them. Immediately, Dongwu Shuang teleported close to the location and teleported over. The fiery red boulder, the cave dwelling, the hall. General Mo Gu sat high up, his evil eyes surveying the thousands of weak cultivators below him. Looking at their despairing and angry expressions as well as their curses, General Mo Gu became even happier. Ha ha ha! No matter how much you curse, you will just be food. Devil! Evil devil! These cultivators looked at General Mo Gu, who was emitting a bloody and brutal aura. Their hearts were filled with endless resentment. Because countless cultivators like them were captured alive, they were kept in captivity, and then they were transported out in waves. They could guess that it would not be a good ending for them after being teleported out. Ha ha, that's right. I am an evil devil, a devil. General Mo Gu laughed before opening his mouth. A devouring energy enveloped those 1,000+ cultivators. But at this moment, a white-robed young man appeared above the fiery red boulder. Humph! A cold snort. The illusory realm descended. The grand illusory realm was endless. Being a 9th level technique, a technique at the Cosmos God level, not only did it cover a vast area, its power was horrifying too. Within this cavern dwelling, there were a total of 6 destruction devils, including General Mogu. General Mogu was preparing to devour them. When the illusory realm descended, he could not resist at all and fell into the illusory realm. He was completely blinded. Actually, even if General Mogu displayed his shadowless, he would still fall into the illusory realm if he happened to be within the region of the illusory realm. Because the greatest weakness of General Mogu, who had the shadowless talent, was his soul. The illusory realm directly targeted the soul. His willpower was far from sufficient, and he naturally fell for it. If General Mogu's willpower was strong, it would be much more frightening. One had to know that in terms of techniques that targeted the soul, Dongbu Shuang was faintly ranked first amongst the cultivators. Only heart imitation religious master could compare with him. As for Cosmos gods, like Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, Blade Emperor, Jade Light Master, Jiezu, Sacred Master, and Ancestor Mother, none of them specialized in soul attacks. For instance, Wu Zhu, even though he had some soul attack techniques, this was ultimately not the path he took to become a Cosmos god. Every ultra-strong expert had their own specialties. Dongbu Shuang specialized in the Tao of Mirage. Furthermore, he had pushed it to the 9th level, and in terms of profoundness, he could barely reach the Cosmos God level. Cultivators had their own Tao paths. There was not a single Cosmos God who relied on soul techniques to become a Cosmos God. Hence, in terms of dealing against the soul, Dongbu Shuang was faintly ranked first. These destruction devils that were nurtured within the nest were relatively weaker in terms of their heart temperament compared to cultivators. Hence, the other 5 destruction devils within the cavern dwelling became numb one after another. Their bodies softened and fell down one after another. Only one of them staggered, yet his eyes lit up. He roared out with shock and anger. Dongbu Shuang! Including General Mogu, all 5 of them fell down and fell into the illusory realm. Only one of them could barely maintain his consciousness. One had to know, this team had 2 9th level experts, and the rest were at the peak of the 8th level. Clearly, one of the 9th level experts had fallen into the illusory realm, and could not resist at all. If a cultivator at the 9th level was here, they might be affected by the terrifying illusory realm created by Dongbu Shuang, and could only exert a small portion of their strength. But it was impossible for them to fall into a state of complete helplessness. Nonetheless, only one of the destruction devils could maintain his consciousness. The moment they fell down, they could no longer maintain the secret technique of concealing their aura. Naturally, all of them released their aura. They did not conceal their aura of destruction, and the moment they released their aura, they suffered from the rejection of the supreme law. Destruction devils! Dongbu Shuang was greatly startled too. It had been too long. Dongbu Shuang had not reaped any harvest for more than 1 trillion years. Even though he had drawn out some regions with a higher probability based on the intelligence reports, he had been pursuing for far too long. He had killed countless devils over such a long period. He even thought that he had only met some devils this time. But in the end, it was a huge surprise. And there were a total of 6 destruction devils. This was an unprecedented harvest. After suffering came happiness. He had finally reaped some rewards after working hard for 1 trillion years. Chapter 987. That only destruction devil who remained conscious had long stepped into the 9th level. His heart tempering and willpower had reached a level comparable to the cultivators at the 9th level primal chaos realm. That was why he and another destruction devil led a team to protect General Mogu. No. This destruction devil waved his hand and kept the 2 comrades by his side into his Eden treasure. After that, his figure flashed and pounced into the palace hall. His speed was too fast. Even though Dongbu Shuang had immediately unleashed his destruction flower. To this 9th level destruction devil, just a distance of half a kilometer was easily covered. Dongbu Shuang's destruction flower was slightly slower by a step. Keep. Just as he kept the fallen General Mogu into his Eden treasure. The black-colored nine-petaled flower descended. The nine-petaled flower completely enveloped him. There were a total of 6 flowers, with the bigger flower enveloping the smaller flower. He was completely trapped within. At the same time, another nine-petaled flower descended and enveloped the other 2 destruction devils who fell into the illusory realm. Fortunately, Dongbu Shuiying was still relatively relaxed. Because the 6 destruction devils, there was no need to mention about the 2 who fell into the illusory realm. Their lives were in his hands. As for that 9th-level destruction devil and the 3 he saved, they had also fallen into the 6th nine-petaled flower and could not escape. His illusory realm had already spread out. Hung, behind Dongbu Shuiying, an enormous fiery red cinnabar god bird appeared. As it flapped its enormous wings, a red aura spread out in all directions. Relying on the ancient cultivation inheritance to cast the illusory realm, that red aura enveloped that destruction devil who remained conscious. He had already revealed his true appearance, a tall and big golden-armored destruction devil with a single horn. Dongbu Shuiying. The single-horned golden-armored destruction devil had a savage expression. His single horn was incredibly sharp. He let out a furious roar. He was furious and desperate. He felt despair for his own fate and for General Mogu. Protecting General Mogu was his mission. But he could feel that incomparably horrifying illusory realm. His willpower had to spend a large portion of his heart force resisting against this illusory realm. In his opinion, there were only a few golden-armored destruction devils who could resist against this illusory realm. Die! Dongbu Shuiying took a step forward and collected the thousands of innocent cultivators who had fallen into the illusion. At the same time, with a thought, the 9-petaled flower started to destroy itself. Boom, 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 the 9-petaled flower enveloping the horned golden-armored devilish lord began to crumble and vanish. At the same time, Dongbu Shuiying unleashed a new 9-petaled flower. Flowers were annihilated one by one and born one by one. Meanwhile, the horned golden-armored devil was enduring the terrifying attacks. He roared as wounds appeared on his body over and over again, but they healed over and over again. Within the grotto heaven treasure, the 3 destruction devils that were saved were here, and one of them was General Mogu. There was no illusory realm here, and they had regained their consciousness. What happened? The 3 of them stood there in a daze. Swish! A wisp of golden light descended and turned into the clone of the single-horned golden-armored fiend. He glanced around and said in a low voice, Dongbu Shuiying has discovered us. The 3 of you have fallen into an illusion just now. Illusory realm? The 3 of them were startled and furious. According to the intelligence, Dongbu Shuiying's 9-petaled flower was extremely formidable. The moment they were trapped, even 9th-level destruction devils could not escape. We can't escape. The single-horned golden-armored devilish lord shook his head. There is no more hope. His illusory realm completely counters General Mogu. Furthermore, I believe that the cosmos gods from the cultivator side are rushing over and will be arriving soon. Of the 6 of us, only I can maintain my consciousness. And I can only unleash part of my strength and can't break apart his 9-petaled flower. Instead, I am getting injured. No, impossible. General Mogu roared. He revealed his true body. His entire body was covered in fine golden scales. Only his head had 3 black curved horns that pointed forward. It's impossible for me to die here. Absolutely impossible. General Mogu was unwilling to believe it. Ever since he was born, his status was incomparably noble. And even the kings attached great importance to him. He stood above almost all the other golden-armored devils. After coming to the world of cultivators, his days became even more wonderful. He felt that he could wantonly devour the lives of cultivators. His strength was also improving. He felt that he would reach the 9th level in the future, and even become a king in the future. He was ambitious. He felt that with his talent, he could become the strongest king after becoming a king. But now, Dongwu Shuang suddenly descended and destroyed everything. Kill yourself? The single-horned golden-armored devilish lord said. Landing in the hands of cultivators will reveal much of our intelligence. If you don't believe me, you can look outside. 1. The Eden treasure warped in midair. One could see the battle scene outside. The true body of the single-horned golden-armored devilish lord was fighting wantonly, yet he was already riddled with scars. Furthermore, he was surrounded by many enormous black flowers. We are finished. Dongwu Shuang. 2 golden-armored devilish lords roared, yet their bodies began disintegrating. No, I don't believe it. My shadowless talent will definitely allow me to escape. General Mogu's body instantly disappeared. Clearly, he had completely shadowless. If you go out, you will be captured alive by him. The single-horned golden-armored devilish lord anxiously roared. But General Mogu had already disappeared. Clearly, General Mogu was unwilling to give up. He was extremely confident in his talent. He felt that the reason he had been attacked previously was because he had not used his talent. As long as he immediately teleported out, the 9-petaled flowers would not obstruct him at all. He had a chance of escaping. I will definitely be able to escape. I definitely can. General Mogu easily passed through the Eden treasure and arrived in the outside world. Once he arrived, he immediately teleported. But the illusory realm was constantly being maintained. It was constantly suppressing the single-horned golden-armored devilish lord and causing the other two to continue sleeping. But the moment General Mogu left the Eden treasure and arrived in the outside world, he immediately fell into the illusory realm. He did not even have the slightest ability to resist. Damn! The single-horned golden-armored devilish lord looked at General Mogu's body that had appeared out of thin air. He could not help but be furious. Die! The single-horned golden-armored devilish lord turned into countless golden lights that tunneled into the body of General Mogu. Just like how the cultivators could kill one another, the golden-armored devilish lord could also kill one another. For the sake of not letting General Mogu fall into the hands of the cultivators, the single-horned golden-armored devilish lord had immediately tunneled in and destroyed General Mogu's soul. He was also destroying General Mogu's body. But even though General Mogu's body was destroyed, his scaled armor remained and could not be destroyed. 1. The distant space began distorting. It's a pity that they captured 2 of them alive. The single-horned golden-armored devilish lord immediately took the initiative to destroy himself. Snow Eagle, how is it? The black-robed, green-haired male void primogenitor appeared with a chuckle. We discovered 6 destruction devils. 4 should have died, and 2 were captured alive. Dongwu Shuang chuckled and said. Following that, he waved his hand and searched through the Eden treasure of the single-horned golden-armored devilish lord. It's a pity that he could not find the golden-armored devilish lord. Clearly, the other 2 had already killed themselves. This was within his expectations. Very soon, Wu Zhu and Blade Emperor arrived one after another. 2 were captured alive? Wu Zhu and Blade Emperor looked at the 2 golden-armored devilish devils who had fallen into a deep sleep. One was at the peak of the 8th level, and the other was at the 9th level. Such a formidable illusory realm. Even though Dongwu Shuang had started reducing the region of the illusory realm, Wu Zhu and the others were still affected by the illusory realm when they got closer. They had never encountered such a terrifying illusory realm before. Even though there were quite a few ancient cultivators at the primal chaos realm who specialized in the illusory realm, they were far inferior to Dongwu Shuang. Chapter 988. Wu Zhu and Blade Emperor had to admit that even at their level, they could feel waves of illusory feeling assaulting their souls, forcing them to divert some of their heart force to resist against the illusory realm. It can already affect us now. If Dongwu Shuang could become a cosmos god using the Tao of Mirage, then his illusory realm would be even more frightening. By then, even we have to divert a portion of our heart force to resist against it. Wu Zhu transmitted. Blade Emperor agreed. A cosmos god who cultivated the Tao of Mirage might not be formidable in direct combat, but in a battle between many cosmos gods, relying on the illusory realm to influence the enemy would be of great use. His techniques against the soul are purer and more direct than heart imitation, Blade Emperor said. Heart imitation religious master was his subordinate. As the two of them conversed, they walked towards the two sleeping golden-armored destruction devils. These two golden-armored destruction devils had been teleported together by Dongbua Shuiying. But after falling into the illusory realm, even if he killed them, they would be willing to die and would not wake up from it. This was absolute oblivion. The two golden-armored destruction devils in front of them were emitting a wicked destructive aura, though their appearances were still disguised as cultivators. South, Dongbua Shuiying went to the side to collect the spoils of war. At the same time, his gaze was attracted by the scales left behind by General Mogu. Originally, he was still rejoicing that he had finally gotten the materials left behind by the golden-armored destruction devils. The golden-armored destruction devils could transform into a wicked destructive energy. Hence, most of them would be completely annihilated after death. Only a few of them would leave behind the materials left behind, and most of them could be sold for a high price. Amen? Dongbua Shuiying was soon attracted by the fine golden scales. On the scales, there was some faintly discernible light revolving. Dongbua Shuiying had already cultivated the walker's hidden secret to the 50th level realm. He had also spent a long time in the Lost World corridor researching the profound mysteries of the void. In addition to the complete second and third diagram of the Emperor Jiuyan 4 diagrams, he had cultivated them to a relatively profound realm. At this moment, when he looked at the scales, especially the faintly discernible rays of light flowing on the scales, he immediately discovered some of the mysteries of voidification. It seems to be simpler and more direct than Emperor Jiuyan's second painting? Dongbua Shuiying felt a sense of simplicity. The technique that Emperor Jiuyan had invented was too complicated. These scales, but it was truly simple. Good treasure. Dongbua Shuiying immediately woke up. He understood that he needed time to study the remaining scales. To him, the scaled armor wasn't for him to sell origin world stones. It was more suitable for him to study the profound mysteries hidden within. This was the laws and profound mysteries system. Everything depended on the true essence and profound mysteries behind it. Snow Eagle. A voice rang in his ears. Eh? Dongbua Shuiying was shocked as he looked at the void primogenitor beside him. The black-robed, green-haired void primogenitor's eyes lit up as he looked at the scaled armor. He muttered, "With your realm, you should be able to see the profound mysteries of the void contained within this scaled armor, right? It is completely different from the walker's hidden secret that I had created. Only when my walker's hidden secret reaches large success would it be able to reach the pinnacle of voidification. And it seems to be much more concise than what I had comprehended. It is so concise and beautiful, too wonderful. I know that you, Snow Eagle, must comprehend this scaled armor. This is your spoil of war, and I won't force you. However, when my incarnation comes to your great void heaven temple, you must let me comprehend it together with you. I will comprehend it together with Ancestor. At that time, I'm afraid I will need Ancestor's guidance." Dongbua Shuiying smiled. Void primogenitor. What realm was he at? The primogenitor who created the Void Walker lineage had extraordinary comprehension abilities. Naturally, he could tell that the scaled armor was extraordinary with a single glance. Furthermore, the Void Walker lineage was originally proficient in voidification. The Void primogenitor had already reached the pinnacle of voidification. However, regardless of whether it was him or Emperor Jiuyan, both of them had comprehended the pinnacle of voidification techniques. In terms of the conciseness of their techniques, the profundities on the scaled armor were the most concise. Secondly, the techniques Emperor Jiuyan comprehended were also concise. Lastly, the Void primogenitor created the walker's hidden secret. Dongbua Shuiying was also happy to agree. After all, the Void primogenitor's research might be deeper than his. At that time, the Void primogenitor might even be able to help him. Who? Dongbua Shuiying waved his hand and kept the scaled armor. Dongbua Shuiying. Wuzu spoke. Dongbu Shuang and Void Primogenitor walked over. Void Primogenitor had to divert 20% to 30% of his heart force to resist against the illusory realm. He could not help but chuckle at Dongbu Shuang. Snow Eagle, if you were to break through to the Cosmos God realm using the Tao of Mirage, I would most likely not have much strength left under your illusory realm. How hard is it to become a Cosmos God? Dongbu Shuang said. Dongbu Shuang, you interrogate the two of them. Wu Zu pointed to the two sleeping golden-armored destruction devils by the side. How did they get through the spatial barrier and what secrets do they have? All right. Dongbu Shuang nodded. He immediately began interrogating them through the illusory realm. Even though these two golden-armored destruction devils were captured alive, it was troublesome to interrogate them because their souls were too powerful. Trying to search their souls? Most likely, they could only search through some fragmented information before their souls shattered. Dongbu Shui Ying's illusory realm could be stealthily guided within the illusory realm, allowing him to probe through everything. Time passed by second. Ancestor Sorcerer, Blade Emperor, and Void Primogenitor were watching from the side. Shuang was controlling the illusory realm to deliberately guide these two golden-armored destruction devils, interrogating them for all sorts of information. He was even comparing the information provided by the two golden-armored destruction devils. Gradually, Shuang became more and more astonished. I'm done interrogating them. Dongbu Shuang turned around and said, How is it? Wu Zu, Blade Emperor, and Void Primogenitor anxiously asked. They had always wanted to know how the destruction devils got through the spatial barrier. Only by knowing the reason would they have the means to deal with them. Dongbu Shuang added. Ever since the golden-armored destruction devils were born, they have all sorts of talents. Some specialize in bewitchment, some control flames, and some control space, of which there are two golden-armored destruction devils with terrifying talents. Within the destruction devils, this talent is called shadowless. The moment they use this talent, they would be able to fuse with space as one entity. By then, unless they could destroy the essence of space, it would be impossible to injure them. Since they are one entity with the essence of space, unless they could isolate the essence of space, they could easily penetrate through it. What? Wu Zu and Blade Emperor were startled. Pinnacle of voidification? Void Primogenitor's expression turned cold. Pinnacle of voidification? Wu Zu, Blade Emperor, and Void Primogenitor understood. Emperor Julian and Void Primogenitor could reach this stage of absolute perfection, and they naturally understood it too. But it was extremely difficult to do so. One had to know that Emperor Julian and Void Primogenitor were both cosmos gods in the void aspect. But one of the destruction devils who had the shadowless talent has died, Dongbu Shuang said. He is ultimately a golden-armored destruction devil, and his heart and willpower are slightly weaker. He fell for my illusory realm. I guess this should be the material of his body. Saying that, he waved his hand, causing those fine golden scales to appear. Voidification? Wu Zu and Blade Emperor looked at it. Void Primogenitor added. This scaled armor contains the profound mystery of voidification. This is the spoil of war of Dongbu Shuang, and you can't snatch it from him. He has agreed to let me comprehend it by the side. The few of us will naturally not snatch it from him. Dongbu Shuang has contributed so much, and we don't even have the time to compensate him. Wu Zu said. He pointed to the two sleeping golden-armored destruction devils. In a while, I'll seal the souls of the two of them, preventing them from committing suicide. The two of them will be temporarily locked up by you, Dongbu Shuang. If there are any questions, I'll let Dongbu Shuang interrogate them. All right. Dongbu Shuang nodded. How about this? Since you can't kill the two of them temporarily, it will be a loss to you. Rest assured, we'll remember your contribution, and we will definitely not mistreat you. Wu Zu said. Also, I'll occasionally send an incarnation to the Great Void Heaven Temple. By then, you can't hide this scaled armor. You have to let me have a good look at it. Being the ancestor of hex cultivation, he was passionate about researching the myriad existences. This scaled armor contained the profound mystery of voidification and was clearly precious. Chapter 989. Since we understand that they relied on voidification, we have to think of ways to break it. Wu Zu frowned and shook his head. It is said that Emperor Jiuyun had a way to break it. If I were to use my absolute move, I could do it within a short period. But it is not quite possible to do so in this enormous spatial barrier. Blade Emperor and Void Primogenitor nodded. The spatial barrier was too vast. It surrounded the Lost World Corridor, the inner region, and the outer region. It was a complete seal. Such a vast area. Emperor Jiuyun could use these techniques on arrays, but it was a pity that he died. Wu Zu and the others could not seal the voidification over a large area. It seems we can only target the weakness of the individual, Wu Zu said. One has died because his soul and willpower are not strong enough. This is the weakness of the soul. Blade Emperor nodded. Dongbui Shuang said. I found out during the interrogation that the one who died was newly born. He is currently at the peak of the 8th level. In terms of soul and willpower, he should be at the bottom even amongst peak 8th level golden armored destruction devils. That was indeed the case. General Mogu was so powerful because the kings favored him. His attainments in soul and willpower were comparatively weaker. As for the other one who has the shadowless talent, he has reached the 9th level. Dongbui Shuang said. It will be troublesome to deal against his soul. Even he did not have the confidence. As for the golden armored destruction devils at the 9th level, he could deal against those with a weak heart temperament. But those with a strong heart and willpower could still maintain their consciousness under the illusory realm. Like this time, that single-horned golden armored destruction devil was able to maintain his consciousness. The final golden armored destruction devil with the shadowless talent could maintain his consciousness even when facing Dongbui Shui Ying's illusory realm. With his talent, he could easily escape. In terms of dealing against the soul, Dongbui, you are considered number one. Wu Zu shook his head. Even though I have some techniques, I do not specialize in studying the soul. Blade Emperor and Void Primogenitor became silent. It seemed none of the newly born cosmos gods specialized in dealing against the soul. There are no direct methods, Wu Zu said. Then we can only use some stupid methods to increase the difficulty of the void form penetration. Once we confirm his position, Jie Zhu will be able to break his void form method. Dongbui Shuang immediately understood what was going on. Wu Zu would need to execute some sort of ultimate move to break the formation, but Jie Zhu would be able to do it in an instant. Hence, it was more suitable for him to make a move. Oh right, Dongbui Shuang added. I've also found out that there are a total of 11 kings on the side of the destruction devils. Actually, there were a total of 15 in history, and 4 have died. Among the 11 kings, there's one called Emperor Jun who is the strongest. 11? Wu Zu, Blade Emperor, and Void Primogenitor's expressions changed. They are actually hiding so much strength. Blade Emperor asked. Dongbui, have you found out how many golden armored graded lairs they have? I've asked them before. This is a secret amongst the destruction devils, and they aren't too clear about it. But it shouldn't be a lot, Dongbui Shuang said. I reckon there shouldn't be more than 10. The harvest this time was huge. The cultivators had truly peeked through the strength of the destruction devils. They even knew how the destruction devils could penetrate through the spatial barrier. Dongbui Shuang had even eliminated one of the 2 destruction devils with the shadowless talent. And on the other side, the destruction devils were infuriated. General Mogu has already been exposed. We are only left with one person with the shadowless talent, General Fu Qian. This time, there are even golden armored destruction devils who were captured alive. They are the protectors of General Mogu and know of his talent. This shadowless talent will definitely be exposed. From now on, we will not casually start a war. All of us have been to the cultivator world before. Hence, we should stay in the Lost World Corridor peacefully. We will wait for the second person with the shadowless talent to appear before starting a war. We can't afford to lose. It's that Dongwu Shuang again. Damn. Everyone bear with it. The longer we wait, the greater our advantage will be. By then, we don't have to sneak through and can directly break through the spatial barrier. And then we can only bear with it. The destruction devils were rapidly changing their strategy. After all, they were only left with one person with the shadowless talent, and they could not afford to lose. Great Void Heaven Temple. The Mirage Palace cavern dwelling occupied a huge area. This was after all one of the 13 palaces in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Amazing, amazing. Void Primogenitor sat there looking at the fine golden scaled armor hanging in the distance. Void Primogenitor was startled as he watched. He had reached the pinnacle of the void, and thus had a deep understanding of the profound mysteries of this fine golden scaled armor. Wu Zhu had also sent his incarnation over. He was carefully observing the armor, frowning and shaking his head at times. Dongwu Shuang was also researching it. Pinnacle of voidification? Sword Master and Forefather Tian Yu were also looking at that scaled armor from the side. Even Devil Mountain Primogenitor had sent his incarnation to sit by the side and watch while drinking. Clearly, many cosmos gods desired to have the pinnacle of voidification technique. Because with this technique and their cosmos god souls, ordinary attacks would be ineffective against them. Normal attacks were useless against them. Even the Sacred Master would find it difficult to kill them. But it was difficult to reach the pinnacle of voidification. Even Du Qi had not reached absolute perfection in it. Previously, only Emperor Julian and Void Primogenitor had achieved it. Clearly, they had a high requirement for their attainments in the void aspect. And this scaled armor seemed to be much simpler, giving the cosmos gods hope of learning it. Too difficult. Too difficult. Devil Mountain Primogenitor shook his head as he drank. Dongwu Shuang experienced it deeply. After all, he was a void walker and had reached the 50th level realm. He also had the 4 diagrams absolute art from Emperor Julian. In terms of foundation in the void aspect, only Void Primogenitor had a higher understanding than him. As for the other cosmos gods, they could not compare to him in the void aspect. With a group of cosmos god incarnations here, Dongwu Shuang studied them for a while before returning to his cultivation room. He closed the cultivation room. Given the techniques of the Great Void Heaven Temple and Dongwu Shuang's illusory realm technique, nobody could spy on what was happening within the cultivation room. I haven't checked the spoils of war this time. Dongwu Shuang waved his hand. This time, of the 6 destruction devils, 4 died, and 2 had their souls temporarily sealed within the Great Void Heaven Temple. Naturally, the treasures were in his hands. He easily refined them and began pouring out the items within. Hua, large amounts of items kept appearing. Fortunately, being one of the hall masters, this cultivation room occupied a huge area, spanning a few kilometers. It could be used to practice his techniques. These cultivator treasures should be obtained after killing the cultivators, right? Dongwu Shuang felt slightly frustrated as he looked at it. Very soon, all the treasures were brought out. Dongwu Shuang even discovered a large number of cultivators trapped within some of the Eden treasures. Dongwu Shuang had also decided that he would set these cultivators free after some time. Hong long long. Large amounts of items were brought out. They clashed against each other and formed a small mountain. And then? Waiting until it gradually calmed down, Dongwu Shuang's gaze landed on a particular location on this small mountain. That place was clearly empty, yet it seemed like there was a transparent item supporting other items. Furthermore, with Dongwu Shuang's absolute control over his surroundings, he was able to discover the minute clashing sounds here. It is transparent? I can't see it? Even my domain can't detect its existence? Dongwu Shuang walked over with a startled expression. As he got closer, that originally transparent item gradually became visible. It was a scarlet plate. There were profound words on it, and one could understand its meaning with a single look. It was the 3 words Realm Heart Order. The Realm Heart Order was incredibly mysterious. Only by obtaining its recognition could one see it and obtain it. Otherwise, one would not be able to see it even if it was right in front of him. Chapter 990. Dongbu Shuang was incredibly startled. Previously, he could not see or sense it. But when he got closer, the token actually appeared, and he could sense it. Realm Heart Order? Dongbu Shuang extended his hand to pick up the Realm Heart Order. The token was slightly cold at first, but it gradually became warm. Dongbu Shuang revealed a look of bewilderment. Given his current identity, he understood many secrets and rare treasures. He had never heard of the Realm Heart Order before. But he could see that this Realm Heart Order was extraordinary. It is a token, and there are words on it. Unless it was refined by a mysterious expert? Dongbu Shuang thought. There were indeed some secret treasures with mysterious origins in the primal chaos void. This Realm Heart Order seemed to be one of them. He then began sending a strand of consciousness into the Realm Heart Order to investigate. Ying. At the moment when his consciousness permeated the Realm Heart Order, the Realm Heart Order immediately melted. It followed the ripple of consciousness and tunneled into the soul of Dongbu Shuang. Not good. Dongbu Shuang was startled. The soul was the core of life of a cultivator. What would happen if an external object tunneled into his soul? Ying. The Realm Heart Order turned into a scarlet energy that fused into his soul. At the same time, a large amount of information was transmitted to Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang gradually revealed a look of astonishment. The Realm Heart Order was refined by an extremely mysterious existence called Yuan. It was also an opportunity to aid the later generations in their cultivation. By activating the energy of the Realm Heart Order, under the protection of the Realm Heart Order, one could reincarnate into another enormous world not any weaker than the primal chaos void, the Realm Heart Great Land. The Realm Heart Great Land was at the same level as the primal chaos void, though its foundation was deeper. Furthermore, experiencing two different supreme law origin worlds would be of great help to becoming a cosmos god. Those who were stuck at the primal chaos realm bottleneck could choose to activate the Realm Heart Order and reincarnate into the Realm Heart Great Land. After being tempered in the two origin worlds, the chances of becoming a cosmos god would greatly increase. In addition to the deeper foundation of the Realm Heart Great Land, but the moment they reincarnated, he had to become a cosmos god before he could activate the Realm Heart Order again and reincarnate back into the primal chaos void. The energy of the Realm Heart Order would be completely depleted. Reincarnation? Dongbu Shuang was in disbelief. Don't tell me this is some kind of conspiracy? Within the universe, there were also reincarnations. Back then, his wife, Jing Qiu, had reincarnated into the material realm. With a bit of her true spirit, she was not rejected by the material realm. However, his memories would only be awakened when he became a god. And according to what the Realm Heart Order said, with the protection of the Realm Heart Order, those who reincarnated into the Realm Heart Great Land would have their memories completely protected. However, would Dongbu Shuang dare to believe it? Abandon everything? Abandon my current body and soul? Isn't that suicide? Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Furthermore, the information transmitted by the Realm Heart Order is definitely real. That Yuan refined this order token with good intentions? It might be a conspiracy. Although this mysterious expert called Yuan might be kind and give the cultivators another opportunity, it was impossible for him to do so. But there was another possibility. Yuan might be a conspiracy. For instance, if he abandoned his fleshy body and soul, allowing a strand of true spirit to enter the Realm Heart Order, the Realm Heart Order might seize the chance to seize his body. Most likely, only cultivators who are stuck at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm would be willing to bet everything on this path. Dongbu Shuang thought. No matter what, Dongbu Shuang, had an overwhelming talent. He had cultivated for a short period, yet he had grasped two great 9th-level techniques. He was confident of stepping into the Cosmos God realm. Naturally, he would not gamble on activating the Realm Heart Order. Expel! Dongbu Shuang immediately wanted to expel that scarlet energy entrenched in his soul. After all, He was not at ease with this mutated energy entrenched in the core of his soul. Wang. No matter how he tried to expel it, the mutated energy formed by the realm heart order remained entrenched in his soul. He could not expel it at all. Damn! Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed. The moment he probed it, it had tunneled in. Now, he could not expel it at all. A piece of command token could forcefully tunnel into my soul, and I can't expel it at all. This technique is quite formidable, Dongbua Shui thought. Who exactly is this person called Yuan? Why haven't I heard of him before? With such a formidable technique, the information transmitted by the realm heart order might be real. It might be real. Or it might be fake. He, Dongbua Shui, had a bright future ahead of him. It was impossible for him to abandon his fleshy body and soul. Since I can't expel it, I can only temporarily cast it aside. Dongbua Shui felt helpless. But the realm heart great land mentioned in this information is actually an origin world on the same level as the primal chaos void? It has a different supreme law? Furthermore, its foundation is deeper? Dongbua Shui began pondering. Ever since he could teleport through an ultra-long distance, Shui had thought of the possibility that the primal chaos void might not be unique in its own right. And now, judging from the realm heart order, the realm heart great land should be on the same level as the primal chaos void with a much deeper foundation. Dongbua Shui could not do anything against the realm heart order, and he did not plan on abandoning his fleshy body and soul to reincarnate. Hence, he temporarily cast it aside. Within the primal chaos void, there was an incomparably vast sea of fire. At the center of the sea of fire, there was an incomparably huge fire star. Its power was endless, and even cosmos gods would pale when facing it. If they were too close to it, their bodies would be incinerated. This fire star was the sun star during the era of the primitive ancient sacred world. In the past, the primitive ancient sacred world had the largest sun star and a moon star revolving around it. Later on, the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, and this most primitive sun star naturally flew far away. After all, the current ancient sacred world was too small. It could not withstand the pressure formed by the most primitive sun star and moon star revolving around it. It drifted here, suppressing all directions. It was also a manifestation of the supreme law. It represented extreme heat and explosion. To cosmos gods, it posed a threat to their lives. Oh, in the interior of the primordial sun star, there were explosions at all times, and there were also flames that roiled like dragons. And at this moment, an incomparably huge black figure slowly appeared on the surface of the primordial sun star. When it appeared, it occupied about 1/3 of the entire primordial sun star. When it appeared, the exploding flames in the surroundings immediately quietened down. I was in a daze, so I was forced to wake up. This incomparably huge black figure slowly opened its eyes. That pair of enormous dark yellow eyes seemed to be able to penetrate through time-space. It had an enormous tortoise shell. Its abdomen was covered with many pieces of scales that were like rocks. Its neck was slightly thicker, and its head was relatively fierce. Following that, its figure transformed. This huge figure that occupied 1/3 of the surface of the primitive sun star instantly turned into a thin, small old man. He was incomparably thin, and he looked like a bag of bones. Everyone said that Jiezu was thin and small. This old man's physique was similar to Jiezu, though he was much thinner. It was as if a gust of wind could blow his old bones away. This thin, small old man leaned on a walking stick. He had a hunched back. He coughed twice. Who is drawing my aura? Who is forcing me to wake up? Chapter 991. He was in a deep and comfortable sleep. But the external world had been guiding his aura, causing him to wake up in the end. The thin, small old man leaned on his walking stick as he stood on the primitive sun star. He followed the aura that attracted him over. He looked at the endless void, and very soon, he saw a white-robed young man currently using his illusory realm to descend on a mountain range to investigate. He was none other than Shui Ying, who was pursuing the destruction devils. He The thin, small old man chuckled. He who was so thin that his eyes were squinted. How rare! It is actually the Cinnabar inheritance that awakened me, and he created the 10th transformation of the Cinnabar inheritance. This Cinnabar inheritance is the least proficient of the 4 inheritances I left behind. 4 inheritances: Imperial Dragon Inheritance, Cinnabar Inheritance, 9 Serpents Inheritance, and Mountain Beast Inheritance. Other than the Cinnabar inheritance that focused on the soul, the other 3 inheritances focused on the fleshy body. Furthermore, the Cinnabar inheritance was considered a lubricant for the other 3 inheritances, allowing them to fuse together perfectly. Look at his illusory realm. TSK, it is quite interesting. It seems to have part of the concept of cosmos gods. The thin, small old man became more and more satisfied. Originally, I am slightly angry at being woken up. But after seeing such a good young fellow, ha ha ha! The thin, small old man laughed. He looked at the incomparably huge primitive sun star beneath his feet. It is quite warm, and I slept quite comfortably. But it is time for me to go out and have a good look at this young fellow. Taking a step, the thin, small old man disappeared. He appeared once again. He arrived at the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. It was as if he teleported there. There were no fluctuations in space at all. One had to know that Ancestor Desert, Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, and other primal chaos giants could only teleport through an ultra-long distance by relying on their ancient cultivation talent. Most teleportations would be similar to constructing a spatial corridor, and the disturbance would be huge. Dongbua Shui Ying's ultra-long distance teleportation was through the black fog spherical holes, and the disturbance was slightly smaller. As for the skinny old man, no movement could be seen from him. The thin, small old man continued watching the movements of Dongbua Shuiying. Dongbua Shuiying stood in the middle of the vast desert, observing the surrounding areas through the black mist sphere. He didn't see anything special, and soon, he locked onto a country. He first teleported to a nearby location, then teleported directly above this country. This was merely a nation ruled by a Unity Realm expert. The city occupied an area of 1 million kilometers, and the population wasn't too densely packed. After all, the stronger the expert, the more the cultivators would feel at ease. Only then would they be willing to submit. In a country ruled by a Unity Realm expert, usually, only those who were weak and had no hope of entering a big city would be willing to live here. Buzz! Dongbua Shuiying stood in the air above the city, and the illusory realm had already descended upon the kingdom below. The countless lives within the city were all immersed in the illusory realm, experiencing their own experiences. There are no destruction devils. Dongbua Shuiying immediately wanted to leave. In such a hurry? Cultivators have long lifespans. Don't be too impatient. Slow down, slow down. A chuckling voice rang out. Dongbua Shuiying's expression changed drastically. What? His illusory realm was such a formidable technique. He knew that even ordinary cosmos gods would be slightly affected by the illusory realm. Even if they weren't affected, he would still be discovered by him. Even though the probing effect of the illusory realm wasn't as good as his law domain. The law domain only covered an area of 50,000 kilometers, and the illusory realm covered a much wider area. Amen? Dongbua Shuiying looked towards the direction where the voice came from. Within a small wine shop by the side of the city, there was a thin and small old man currently sitting there eating and drinking in big mouthfuls. This scene seemed very ordinary. But one had to know that everyone else in this city had fallen into the illusory realm, and only this thin and small old man could still eat and drink. That was abnormal. South! Dongbua Shuiying took a step in midair before descending. He arrived by the side of this small wine shop. He immediately bowed. Dongbua Shuiying greets Senior. Sit, sit. The thin and small old man continued eating. As he ate, he said, It has been a long time since I ate. I'm slightly hungry. Dongbua Shuiying immediately sat opposite him. He carefully observed this mysterious expert in front of him. Even his own illusory realm could not discover him. With his attainments in the illusory realm, Dongbu Shuang was certain that this was absolutely an existence who cultivated to the highest level, the cosmos god realm. Furthermore, he should be extremely powerful even amongst cosmos gods. But there were only so many cosmos gods, and he should know all of them. A new cosmos god? He should be at the primal chaos realm in the past, right? But according to the intelligence he understood, almost every primal chaos realm expert should be recorded, including those from the ancient sacred religion and ancestor mother religion. Nonetheless, he could not find any similar information regarding this thin and small old man in front of him. Hoochie hoochie. The thin and small old man continued eating. He was enjoying himself. Plate after plate of food entered his stomach, and finally, he finished everything. Comfortable, comfortable. I still have to drink after eating. The food in this wine shop is still alright, but the wine is lacking. The thin and small old man patted his stomach. He looked at Dongbu Shuang. Do you have wine? Give me some good wine. Please. Dongbu Shuang waved his hand, causing 3 flasks of wine to appear on the table. Being a cultivator, he would bring many good wines with him. For the sake of tracking down the destruction devils, Dongbu Shuang had traveled across the primal chaos void. He loved good food and wine, and naturally, he had tasted the good wines from many places. He had even collected some of the best wines. These 3 flasks of wine were different. In terms of value, there were many wines that were more expensive than them. But those expensive wines were made from precious ingredients. As for the taste, these 3 wines were the 3 that Dongbu Shuang felt were the best. Zai. The thin and small old man poured the wine. As he drank, he clicked his tongue. His slightly dim eyes lit up. Good wine, good wine. Who would have thought that you are able to bring out such good wine despite your young age? Dongbu Shuang watched from the side. He watched as the thin and small old man drank. After drinking more than half the wine, the thin and small old man looked up at Dongbu Shuang with a grin. Your temper is quite good. Saying that, he waved his hand. Who? That unique treasure which was originally in Dongbu Shuang's storage treasure landed in the hands of this thin and small old man. Dongbu Shuang's expression changed slightly. In the hands of this thin and small old man was that stone mirror. It was the guidance of the stone mirror that allowed him to cultivate the destruction flower. If not for the guidance, it would be much more difficult for him to reach the 7th level in the Unity realm. With your current strength, this piece of scale is useless to you. The thin and small old man chuckled. He waved his hand, causing the stone mirror to fly into the distant void. Following that, it tore through the void and disappeared. I should give it to those who need it more. The stone mirror was indeed useless to him now. Because Dongbu Shuang had already opened up the 10th transformation of Cinnabar's inheritance, it had already surpassed the guidance of the stone mirror. This was left behind by Senior. Dongbu Shuang asked. Haha, it's a piece of scale that I shed. The thin and small old man chuckled. Oh right, my name is Sure. Senior Sure. Dongbu Shuang immediately greeted. He felt gratitude towards this thin and small old man. After all, Dongbu Shuang was someone who knew how to repay kindness. It was because of the stone mirror that he was able to create the destruction flower. On his path of cultivation, it was indeed of great help to him. After going to the hospital for a tetanus injection, his wounds had yet to heal. Thus, his typing speed was rather slow. However, it would only get faster and faster. Star. Chapter 992. The skinny old man drank his wine and asked curiously. According to what I know, your attainments in the illusory realm can be considered as the number 1 cultivator. I can see that you are still quite young. How did you manage to cultivate the illusory realm to such a level? Dongbu Shuang laughed. Cultivation is all about moving forward step by step. When I was weak, when I was just a transcendent, I was already able to comprehend the illusory realm. I can be considered to be talented in this aspect. After which, I continued to train and improve. After 1,000,000,000,000 years, I have unknowingly reached where I am today. That's right, unknowingly. The skinny old man's eyes were misty. Speaking of which, when I was at my weakest, I was merely a mutated beast with low intelligence. At that time, I only wanted to avoid being hunted down and live for a longer period of time. Unknowingly, I have reached where I am today. Dombush Shuang was inwardly shocked. Mutated beast? Low intelligence? When the senior sure mentioned that the stone mirror was a piece of scale that he shed, Dombush Shuang already had some guesses. However, he had thought that Senior Sure had an extraordinary background. Unexpectedly, Senior Sure's background was even lower than his own. I am old now, and I often reminisce about the past. I don't even have the motivation to cultivate anymore. The skinny old man laughed. What do you think about the illusory realm? Do you think that everything within the illusory realm is real? It has its own intelligence, it has its own self, and it has its own experiences. The billions of living beings within the illusory realm are naturally real. Dombush Shuang said. Currently, my illusory realm is only half a step away from the real world. In fact, every time I cast the illusory realm, I would only stop the time of the billions of living beings within the illusory realm. The next time I cast the illusory realm, these living beings would continue to appear. If he were to destroy the illusory realm forever, it would be akin to killing the billions of living beings within. Even Dombush Shuang couldn't bear to do that. It wasn't that he was foolish. Instead, at his level of cultivation, the billions of living beings within the illusory realm were no different from the living beings in the real world. They had their own self, they had emotions, they knew how to cultivate. Thus, whenever Dombush Shuang cast the illusory realm, it would always be the same huge illusory realm. The only difference was that there would be some living beings within the illusory realm. Are they all real? When the spell ends, it only stops the time in the illusion? The skinny old man fell into deep thought as he listened. After that, he shook his head and chuckled. In cultivation, sometimes the strength of one's spirit is very important. If you believe in it, you will succeed. If you don't believe it, it's even more impossible. All right, I'm full now. It's time to go. The skinny old man stood up and looked at Dombush Shuang with a smile. If fate allows it, we might meet again. With that, the skinny old man stood up shakily and walked away slowly with the help of his walking stick. As he walked, his figure gradually disappeared. Dombush Shuang did not even notice how the other party left. Amazing. Dombush Shuang was inwardly shocked. I always thought that in terms of void techniques, Emperor Jiuyun was number one, but now, it's void primogenitor. However, it seems that this mysterious senior Sure is also unfathomable. Just this escape technique alone has surpassed the void primogenitors. At another location, in the Great Void Heaven Temple, the incarnation of Dombush Shuang immediately came to greet Forefather Tianyu. Forefather. Dombush Shuang greeted. Dombush Shuang, why did you come to see me personally? Forefather Tianyu was slightly startled. Does Forefather know someone? Dombush Shuang waved his hand, causing the appearance of that senior Sure to appear by the side. He was so skinny that he was all skin and bones. He was even leaning on a walking stick. He is extremely powerful. I feel that his utilization of the void is beyond that of void primogenitor. According to my deduction, he is definitely a cosmos god. Furthermore, he should be ranked at the forefront even amongst cosmos gods. I dare not say that he is comparable to Sacred Master, but he should at least be at the level of Jie Zhu and Ancestor Mother. Oh? Forefather Tianyu looked with shock. He carefully examined the appearance of that person and could not help but shake his head. I don't know him. I've never seen him before. Dombush Shuang felt puzzled. Even though Sword Master was powerful, Forefather Tianyu had far surpassed him in terms of living and experience. He had never seen the senior Sure before? A cosmos god, and at least at the level of Jie Zhu and Ancestor Mother? Forefather Tianyu shook his head. How could there be no news of someone with such strength? Dombush Shuang, are you certain you have seen him before? Is his strength that high? You aren't deceived by him? Dombush Shuang shook his head. Impossible. That's right. With your attainments in the illusory realm and your law domain, trying to deceive you? That's too difficult. For Father Tianyu felt puzzled. But I have never seen someone with such strength before. This is the first time I've heard of it from you. That's weird. He asked for Father Tianyu before asking the sword master about it. The sword master had similarly never heard of this person before. Dongbu Shuang could only temporarily put it aside. No matter what, that mysterious thin small old man did not have any malicious intent towards him. It's just that his identity was too mysterious. Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. At the peak of a towering desolate mountain, the mountain winds were biting cold. A thin and small old man holding onto a walking stick was currently standing at the peak. Suddenly, a figure teleported to the side. It was none other than the thin and small Jie Zhu, who was garbed in loose green robes. Jie Zhu had a domineering aura between his brows. After all, even Sacred Master could hardly injure his fleshy body. If he were to wreak havoc, he would definitely be an ultra-huge devil. But the usually domineering Jie Zhu was currently respectfully bowing to the thin and small old man by the side. Teacher, you are awake. This disciple thought it would be hard for me to see teacher again. At this moment, Jie Zhu could hardly conceal his emotions. Clearly, he was excited. The thin and small old man laughed as he patted Jie Zhu's head. Both of them were of similar height. The thin and small old man chuckled. You little devil! You are already the famous Jie Zhu now, yet you are still acting like a child. I will forever be teacher's disciple. Jie Zhu did not have the slightest bit of fierceness. Instead, he was extremely obedient. He did not really treat many of his family members as they had all died long ago. The only one who was still alive was him, his teacher. Teacher, why did you suddenly wake up? Jie Zhu asked again. He knew that his teacher was also cultivating in his sleep. Logically speaking, he would not be willing to wake up unless there was something important. Because of that little fellow named Dongbu Shuang, the thin and small old man said. Dongbu Shuang? Jie Zhu was surprised. He is indeed quite talented. In the past, my other lineage inheritance, the 4 extreme inheritances, was purely for the sake of fusing the body and soul into one. That was why I created the Cinnabar inheritance based on the divine beast Cinnabar. Actually, I'm not too good in the illusory realm. The thin and small old man sighed. Who would have thought that this Dongbu Shuang actually cultivated my Cinnabar inheritance, and created the unprecedented 10th transformation? Jie Zhu softly nodded after hearing that. Amen, his illusory realm is quite formidable. Previously, he had contributed greatly by obtaining quite a bit of intelligence from the destruction devils. The few of you specialize in the fleshy body. The thin and small old man looked at the distant void. He was also looking at Dongbu Shuang, who was currently pursuing the destruction devils. And he is the only one who specializes in the soul. Teacher, are you prepared to accept him as your disciple and groom him? Jie Zhu asked. I do have this plan. The thin and small old man chuckled. But I'm not in a rush. I have just woken up and met him for the first time. I don't understand him too well. I'll test him a few times and observe him properly before making my decision. Chapter 993. Jie Zhu was secretly shocked. He knew his master's temperament very well. Even when he had first passed on the legacy to him and the Black Emperor, he had been very casual. It was only after spending time together that his relationship with his master deepened. Master has always been very casual. Even when I publicly spread the devouring lineage to produce many fiends, Master did not care. Even when he chose disciples, he would usually only bestow fortuitous opportunities and legacies. It was very casual. But this time, he was very careful. How many more tries? Jie Zhu was secretly shocked. The more cautious one was, the more it meant that his master really valued Dongbu Shuang. The thin small old man watched from afar. Little devil, this brat Dongbu Shuang is very unique. I've met many young fellows, and I've even imparted some of my inheritances to disciples. Many of my inheritances have also been spread outside, But you should know that my forte lies in my fleshy body. The little fellows who are fated with me usually have powerful bodies. This is the first one. He has such attainments in the soul, and he even surpasses me in illusions. I will not be of much help to him. Even if I take him in as a disciple, I can only give him some fortuitous opportunities and let him go on his own. Jiezu was tempted when he heard that. Fortuitous opportunities. His second junior apprentice brother, the Black Emperor, and his youngest junior apprentice brother had never received any truly great fortuitous opportunities. Only he, Jiezu, had the highest potential and had received his master's true nurturing. But now, his master had prepared some fortuitous opportunities for Dongbua Shuang. Clearly, his master had prepared more than one fortuitous opportunity. Of course, it was mainly in the aspect of illusions. His master could not guide Dongbua Shuang. He could only provide help with fortuitous opportunities. If he succeeds, perhaps as his master, I will hope that he can give me some pointers in the future. The thin old man smiled and sighed. I'm stuck at this stage. I have a vague feeling that my soul is still lacking. Although I created the dream cultivation technique, which allows me to tap into my greatest potential and cultivate forever, I still cannot break through. Little fiend. The skinny old man looked at Jiezu with a complicated look in his eyes. There were many little fellows who were fated to be with me. Unfortunately, all of them returned to nothingness. The destruction devils born in this primal chaos void are becoming stronger, and the primal chaos void is expanding continuously. Even though it will take quite a long time, it will eventually lead to the final great apocalypse. Everything will return to nothingness. You should properly cultivate and take another step. Only then can you survive the great apocalypse. This disciple will do his best, Jiezu said solemnly. At your current level, all external forces are useless. In the end, you still have to rely on yourself. The skinny old man shook his head and his figure immediately disappeared. Jiezu stood there silently. He took a step forward and left as well. 7-star Oceanic Sacred World. There was a city that occupied an area of 500,000 kilometers, Green Thunder City. Even though this place was slightly desolate, the master of this city was an expert at the 4th level Star Pagoda strength, and could intimidate an entire region. This caused a large number of cultivators to rush over and gather in the city. The city was very prosperous. Within a private room of a luxurious restaurant that occupied a relatively vast area, Mount Chime was currently half lying there. There were all sorts of delicacies and wine placed on the table in front of him. There were a total of 4 exquisite beauties serving him by the 2 sides. Some were massaging his shoulders, some were feeding him wine, and some were peeling fruits. And there were musicians and dancing girls in front of him. All of them were doing their best to serve this mysterious expert. They did not dare to slight him. Because, in the earliest days, the 2 massacres had caused the higher-ups of this Green Thunder City to feel terror towards Mount Chime. It is too difficult to become a cosmos god. Mount Chime had a pair of scarlet eyebrows. He was filled with killing intent. He would occasionally travel around the world in search of opportunities to break through. After all, he, Mount Chime, had many treasures, and cosmos gods were not willing to form a grudge with this undying Mount Chime. His days were not uncomfortable, but it was unbearable for him to be stuck at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. There will be more and more destruction devils. By then, Wu Zhu and the others will have to come and beg me to find golden armored graded lairs. Mount Chime thought, this is a rare opportunity to slaughter them and get a huge amount of origin world rocks. By then, I'll eat more than half of them, and it will definitely be greatly beneficial to my soul. Who knows, I might even become a cosmos god. Suddenly, Mount Chime abruptly looked up. His vision penetrated through the obstruction of the restaurant and houses. He saw a white-robed young man teleporting above the city. That white-robed young man had directly brought down a huge illusory realm. It was extremely fast and sudden. The illusory realm was huge and mysterious. In an instant, all living beings in the entire city had fallen into the illusory realm. The beauties, musicians, and dancers who were originally serving Mount Chai-mei had all fallen into the illusory realm. The illusory realm had naturally engulfed Mount Chai-mei. This? Mount Chai-mei's expression changed slightly. The terrifying illusory realm invaded him. The world in front of him was distorted and about to change. A terrifying force was dragging his soul, wanting to drag his soul into another illusory world. The moment he fell into it, his life and death would be controlled by others. Humph! Mount Chai-mei gritted his teeth. His willpower was like a blade as he forcefully broke free from the illusory realm. But for the sake of resisting against the illusory realm, he had to use 70% of his heart force to do so. And then? And Dongbu Shuiying, who was pursuing the destruction devils, had discovered the only one who broke free from his illusory realm. But he soon recognized that this person was Mount Chai-mei. Mount Chai-mei, please forgive me. I'm currently. Dongbu Shuiying had just transmitted a message. Dongbu Shuiying! A furious roar sounded. Pun! With that restaurant as the center, everything within a region of 50,000 kilometers suddenly exploded and turned into ruins. This region was the domain of Mount Chai-mei. Everything within the region of 50,000 kilometers was destroyed. Mount Chai-mei stood in midair. Under his scarlet eyebrows, his cold eyes stared at the distant Dongbu Shuiying. You are truly arrogant to dare to act against me? Dongbu Shuiying's expression changed. His face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost as he looked at that region of 50,000 kilometers. Countless living beings within that region had died. Mount Chai-mei, aren't you being too ruthless? Dongbu Shuiying looked at the distant Mount Chai-mei. I'm drinking here, yet you suddenly unleashed your illusory realm? Mount Chai-mei angrily roared. Dongbu Shuiying calmly replied. I'm under the orders of the cosmos gods to chase after the destruction devils across the primal chaos void. For the sake of preventing the destruction devils from escaping the moment they sense me, the moment I appear in a location, I will immediately unleash my illusory realm. Furthermore, with your strength, Mount Chai-mei, you can easily resist against my illusory realm, and it won't harm you at all. Why must you vent your anger on the ordinary cultivators? I can kill them whenever I want. Why? Are you furious? Mount Chai-mei sneered. Let Forefather Tianyu and Sword Master come and find me. Dongbu Shuiying became even more furious as he listened. He had always disliked this Mount Chai-mei. He clearly had the strength, yet he requested for a huge sum of origin world rocks. Otherwise, he would not deal against the destruction devils. One had to know that the destruction devils ultimately wanted to destroy the entire world. According to logic, every single cultivator should be working hard. He, Dongbu Shuiying, might have cultivated for a short period, but more than 99% of his time was spent chasing after the destruction devils. Occasionally, because of his illusory realm, he would not feel offended even if he met a cosmos god. After all, they could understand. This Mount Chai-mei. Dongbu Shuiying disliked him in the past. At this moment, seeing how Mount Chai-mei still roared out angrily just because of this minor matter, even though he had explained it to him previously, all living beings in the surrounding 50,000 kilometers were exterminated. He was so cruel. He was absolutely a devil. With Dongbu Shuiying's methods, he should have directly killed him. It's a pity that he could not do so. Even cosmos gods could not do so. Because there were only 2 cultivators of the Myriad Realm Tavern Master lineage who had cultivated successfully. One was Myriad Realm Tavern Master, and the other was Mount Chai-mei. Nobody could find any traces of his avatars. Dongbu Shuiying was helpless against such an enemy who could not be killed. You don't even know how to apologize after offending me. Mount Chai-mei sneered. His killing intent became denser. Mount Chai-mei, I am unaware too. I seek for your forgiveness. Dongbu Shuiying suppressed the anger in his heart. Even though he looked down on this person, he still chose to keep the peace. After all, there was no need to become enemies with a madman who could not be killed. Just a sentence and it's fine? Mount Chai-mei sneered. You should immediately take out 10,000 Origin World rocks and apologize. Only then can this matter be considered resolved. Otherwise, asterisk asterisk. Chapter 994. Dongbu Shuang was incomparably startled. Even though he knew that Mount Chime was perverse and ruthless, and that he would open his mouth like a lion even when facing many cosmos gods, it was too overboard for Mount Chime to grasp this opportunity to force him to take out 10,000 origin world rocks as an apology. Dongbu Shuang was too lazy to care about this man. He indifferently said, Mount Chime, I still have to continue investigating the destruction devils, so I won't be accompanying you anymore. The moment he finished speaking. You want to leave? Accompanied by a roar, Mount Chime turned into a blurred blood light as he pounced towards Dongbu Shuang. This made Dongbu Shuang feel even more baffled. This Mount Chime actually acted? Mount Chime was currently filled with fighting spirit. He deliberately provoked, and even demanded 10,000 origin world rocks as an apology. Actually, it was all for the sake of fighting with Dongbu Shuang. He was even worried that Dongbu Shuang would not use his full strength. Hence, he was doing his best to provoke the other party. This Dongbu Shuang, I've heard that his destruction flower is incredibly powerful. His illusory realm requires me to use 70% of my heart force to resist against it. He will definitely pose a huge threat to me. That's precisely what I need. A true battle under extreme pressure might allow me to comprehend something, allowing me to break through the final bottleneck and become a cosmos god. The eyes of Mount Chime turned red. Reaching his current identity and status, becoming a cosmos god was his greatest obsession. Wanting to become a cosmos god, fighting with his full strength when he felt threatened was the best way to temper himself. Xiao. Dongbu Shuang wanted to teleport, yet he felt the surrounding space faintly solidifying. He could not teleport, and could only fly backwards at high speed. This Mount Chime's attainments in the void are extremely high. He is comparable to me. He retreated at high speed. Mount Chime turned into a blood light as he pounced forward. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed tens of millions of miles, and the distance between Mount Chime and Dongbu Shuang was still shrinking. Faster than me? Dongbu Shuang became even more vigilant. Mount Chime's figure was like a blood shadow, appearing and disappearing, very much like the state of void form. Boom! Dongbu Shuang, who was initially running away, stopped abruptly. Behind him, a gigantic fiery red divine bird, Cinnabar, appeared. Its wings covered the sky, and countless fiery red air currents filled the air, enveloping Mount Chime. The illusions kept attacking. Mount Chime furrowed his brows. Relying on ancient cultivation techniques, the illusionary realm attacked him again and again, forcing Mount Chime to use 80% of his mental strength to resist. You're not running anymore? Mount Chime also stopped and stood in midair. Then, receive my attack first. A strange circular roulette suddenly appeared in his hand. The roulette was translucent, and it was very thin. It was so thin that even Dongbu Shuang couldn't accurately describe its thickness. Based on Dongbu Shuang's estimation, the thickness of this roulette was most likely about the same as the diameter of the black fog spherical hole. This caused Dongbu Shuang to feel both astonished and expectant. How strong was Mount Chime exactly? Without a doubt, he was at the 9th level, and his combat techniques were unique as well. If he wanted to leave, no one would be able to stop him. Furthermore, he had a mysterious doppelganger. No matter what kind of tracking technique one used on his doppelganger, no one would be able to find him. Thus, his status was somewhat transcendent. Go! Mount Chime tossed out the circular roulette in his hand. The translucent roulette instantly streaked across the sky. It was too thin. Its thinness was about the same as the diameter of the black fog spherical hole, causing it to be extremely sharp. In fact, it was even sharper than many secret treasures. Wherever it passed, even the void was sliced apart. Dongbu Shuang could see that even the black fog spherical hole had a few cuts on it. This was an extremely terrifying technique, and it could be ranked at the 9th level. With a single thought from Dongwu Shuang, the 9-petaled flower instantly descended. The huge black flower bud descended and easily enveloped the circular roulette. One by one, the 9-petaled flower wrapped around the roulette. The circular roulette soundlessly sliced through a 9-petaled flower. The instant it was sliced through, the 9-petaled flower was destroyed. The terrifying might caused the circular roulette to tremble, and its power was greatly reduced. The second 9-petaled flower was only able to slice through a little before it was completely consumed. If not for the influence of his illusory realm, I would have been able to execute multiple void roulette. Mao Chai-mei extended both his hands. A weapon appeared on each of his hands. They were both roulette weapons that were extremely thin. This was a pair of extremely precious secret treasures that allowed Mao Chai-mei to unleash an extremely powerful close combat strength. Usually, he would be able to eliminate his enemies after releasing several void roulette. But this time, due to the suppression from the 10th transformation of Cinnabar's inheritance, 80% of his heart force had to resist against the illusory realm. He had already exhausted all of his heart force to maintain close combat. Kill! Mao Chai-mei charged straight at Dongwu Shuang. Dongwu Shuang waved his hand, causing the 9-petaled flower to descend and envelop Mao Chai-mei. The 9-petaled flower in his hands wantonly slashed out, causing the 9-petaled flower to be sliced apart. The 9-petaled flower has the effect of binding, but its strongest effect is still destruction. Its binding can restrain those 9th-level destruction devils, but it is weak against Mao Chai-mei. Dongwu Shuang thought. Mao Chai-mei's void roulette was at the 9th level. Currently, by relying on this pair of roulette secret treasures, his combat strength had increased. Exterminate! Dongwu Shuang thought. Hong! 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 Many beautiful 9-petaled flowers bloomed and were destroyed during the process. Mao Chai-mei could not help but roar furiously. He continued charging and killing, yet he was forced to use his weapon to defend against the overwhelming destructive might. Dongwu Ying's 9-petaled flower was endless. At the same time of destruction, new ones would descend. I actually can't win? Mao Chai-mei felt sullen. Even though he wanted to fight with Dongwu Shuang to temper himself, he similarly wanted to win. He had not lost for a very long time. He felt that his talent was great, and he did not place any primal chaos experts in his eyes. He even looked down on cosmos gods. In his opinion, they were all fools who would eventually die in the great apocalypse. He was very proud of his lineage's legacy. He also felt that his combat strength was great, yet he could not win today. If not for 80% of my heart force being affected, how could I not shatter these petals? Mao Chai-mei gritted his teeth. He looked at that white-robed young man standing outside the revolving translucent black petals. He lost. Even though he was not willing to accept it, he understood in his heart that the illusory realm was a part of Dongwu Ying's strength. The other party did not even use any secret treasures. He is indeed formidable. Dongwu Shuang watched from afar. He could not help but praise inwardly, even though he is completely suppressed by me to the extent that he could not kill his way out of the 9-petaled flower. The continuous destruction of the 9-petaled flower did not injure him at all. His pair of weapons specialize in defense too. Furthermore, his attainments in voidification are quite high. He is even higher than me? Dongwu Shuang admitted that his voidification was quite formidable. After all, he had reached the 50th level of Walker's hidden secret, and he had the inheritance of Emperor Julian and the scaled armor left behind by General Mo Gu, allowing Dongwu Shuang to reach an amazing level in voidification. But it seemed that he was still slightly weaker than Mao Chai-mei. Chapter 995. Mao Chai-mei stopped and stared coldly at Dongwu Shuang, who was standing in the distance. It only occasionally used the roulette in its hands to block the destructive power, and did not attack again. Although his expression remained cold, he was thinking about the earlier battle. My void will has yet to reach its pinnacle. If it reached its pinnacle, his black flowers would not have been able to block it. When the flower collapses and is destroyed, the attack will spread everywhere, and there will be nowhere to hide. The void wheel has to bear the impact. In his mind, he had the detailed information of when he had obtained the inheritance. As he continued to compare, he gradually gained something. Seeing this, Dongbush Shuang stopped as well. The flowers of destruction slowly dissipated and returned to the heaven and earth. As expected of the number one illusionary realm among all cultivators. Very powerful. If you don't have illusionary realm techniques, I can easily defeat you. Mount Chimay said coldly. Mount Chimay's void techniques are indeed powerful. Dongbush Shuang praised as he glanced at his surroundings. He had fled for tens of millions of miles just now, so the battle did not affect the countless cultivators in the city. Only during the initial eruption of Mount Chimay, all living beings within a radius of 100,000 kilometers were wiped out. I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't be accompanying you any longer, Dongbush Shuang said. At the same time, the space beside him distorted, and with a step he stepped into it and left. This madman, the further away from him, the better. No matter how dissatisfied an unkillable lunatic was, Dongbush Shuang could only cast him aside for the time being. As Mount Chimay was chatting with Dongbush Shuang, he was thinking about the battle as well. However, when he saw Dongbush Shuang teleporting away, his expression changed. He looked at the void in front of him in disbelief. That part of the void had already regained its calm. However, with his powerful perception of the void, he could clearly remember the ripples from Dongbush Ying's super long-distance teleportation. This is... Mount Chimay found it hard to believe. This is our bloodline's teleportation technique. How can he use it? It was too familiar. Their lineage's inheritance was extremely secretive. In the entire primal chaos void, there were only two people who could be considered as real people. One was the Myriad Realm Tavern Master, and the other was him, Mount Chimay. Hence, Mount Chimay naturally felt arrogant. He even looked down on those cosmos gods who were stronger than him. His arrogance came from his legacy. In his eyes, his legacy transcended all other cultivation systems. Ancient cultivation, laws and mystery system, witchcraft cultivation, devour class system, the strongest warrior system, and so on. All of them were far inferior to his own inheritance. His own inheritance could truly suppress all other inheritances. This legacy allowed him, Mount Chimay, to possess a special teleportation technique that could even be used by his avatars. He could easily appear anywhere in the primal chaos void. Furthermore, there were clones that could hide themselves, and no tracking techniques could find them. His combat strength was equally terrifying. He was ranked at the top of the 9th level. He and the Myriad World Tavern Master had transcendent statuses. But now, he realized that Dongbush Shuang had actually used their unique teleportation technique. How could he learn it? It is impossible. Teacher isn't in the primal chaos void at all. Our lineage only has me and senior disciple brother Myriad Realm. Even though we impart it to our disciples, we only impart it to the most fundamental level. Without cultivating to a sufficient level, without the consent of our teacher, we will not impart the core inheritance. Where did he learn the destructive realm teleportation technique? Mount Chimay was slightly flustered. He was even more furious. He was clear. Those ancient cultivators might be able to teleport through an ultra-long distance, but they did so using spatial corridors and ultra-long distance teleportation techniques. Hence, not just the ancient cultivators, even the void primogenitor had to use his true body to execute it. Because the burden on their techniques was too great, and their incarnations could not execute it. But the destructive realm teleportation technique unique to Mount Chimay's lineage, the moment he comprehended it, the burden on his heart force would be minimal, and his incarnations could easily execute it. If his incarnations can execute it, wouldn't he be able to search for golden armored graded lairs? Mount Chimay felt frustrated. He was even slightly anxious. In his opinion, as the threat of the destruction devils became bigger, those cosmos gods would eventually lower their heads in front of him and ask him to search for them. Because his senior disciple brother Myriad Realm Tavern Master had already become a cosmos god, and he was no longer anxious. He had already communicated with his senior disciple brother, and Myriad Realm Tavern Master would not snatch away this huge business of his. He had long sharpened his blade and wanted to ruthlessly slaughter the cosmos gods. How could he stop if he did not get a few million, or more than 10 million origin world rocks? But now, Dongbu Shuiying could execute it too. With the personality of the other party who was willing to spend so much effort to search for the destruction devils, he would be willing to search for golden armored graded lairs even if he did not want origin world rocks. No, such a matter must not happen. The eyes of Mount Chime were filled with a murderous glint. If one said that he deliberately provoked the other party for the sake of fighting, now, he was truly anxious. He was even filled with killing intent. The void by the side distorted. Mount Chime took a step before disappearing from the vicinity. His ultra-long distance teleportation technique was exactly the same as Dongbu Shuiying. Within the nearest great city, there was a Myriad Realm Tavern. The Myriad Realm Tavern spanned across many regions in the primal chaos void. Every Myriad Realm Tavern had an old man within. Every old man looked exactly the same, and their auras were the same. They were all avatars of Myriad Realm Tavern Master. How many avatars did he have? This was a mystery. South. Because the distance was very close, Mount Chime directly teleported to the first floor of this Myriad Realm Tavern. Other than the old man who was sleeping soundly on the chair, there were no other guests. Because the cost of a meal in the Myriad Realm Tavern was too exaggerated, and the food was terrible. Without special reasons, nobody would enter. Amen? The old man who was sleeping soundly opened his drowsy eyes. He glanced at Mount Chime who appeared and chuckled. It's Chime. Why did you suddenly come to my place? Senior disciple brother, there's trouble. Mount Chime said. Trouble? What trouble? The old man stood up. He did not care too much. He was different from his junior disciple brother, Mount Chime. He had long become a cosmos god, and he could calmly watch the life and death of the world. His junior disciple brother, Mount Chime, was comparatively more anxious. Mount Chime said, The destructive realm teleportation technique is one of the core inheritances of our lineage. You haven't imparted it to any disciple, right? Without teacher's permission, how would I dare to impart the core inheritance? The old man shook his head. Mount Chime solemnly said, I didn't impart it either. But that Dongbu Shuiying from the Great Void Heaven Temple knows how to execute the destructive realm teleportation technique. What? The old man was startled. The destructive realm teleportation technique. This was the most commonly seen technique in the core inheritance of their lineage. Even though he and Mount Chime originated from the same lineage, in reality, they were leaning towards two different directions. Just like Black Emperor and Jiezu, they were leaning towards different directions. Even though the two of them came from the same lineage, they both knew how to execute the destructive realm teleportation technique. This was the most fundamental method of traveling. Dongbu Shuiying? The old man did not dare believe it. He is at the primal chaos realm. Where did he learn the destructive realm teleportation technique from? Teacher isn't currently in our primal chaos void. If teacher were to return, I would be able to sense it at the first instance. Right. I suspect that he relied on his illusory realm to search for the most fundamental cultivation technique from our disciples. According to the fundamental cultivation technique, he deduced the destructive realm teleportation technique. The eyes of Mount Chime were filled with killing intent. There are too many organizations in this primal chaos void that wish to learn this inheritance of our lineage. Those cosmos gods are all eyeing this inheritance of ours. This Dongbu Shuiying actually has the comprehension ability to secretly learn the fundamental cultivation technique and deduce the destructive realm teleportation technique. We must not let him live. If he lives, he would most likely learn more. We must kill him. Chapter 996. The old man frowned and softly shook his head. I've heard that this Dongwu Shuang is currently the cultivator who specializes in the illusory realm. He relied on the illusory realm to discover the foundational cultivation technique of our lineage from our disciples. I believe this. But how is it possible to deduce the destructive realm teleportation technique just by relying on the foundational cultivation technique? You and I have reached a certain realm in the past and were imparted by our teacher. Only then did we learn the destructive realm teleportation technique. Relying on ourselves to deduce it? Mount Chime anxiously said. That Dongwu Shuang has an extremely high talent. How long has he cultivated to his current realm? Given his comprehension ability, it is not impossible for him to reach this stage. And then, his talent is high. Myriad Realm Tavern Master still did not dare believe it. Relying on himself to deduce the destructive realm teleportation technique? According to what he knew, of the two who truly relied on themselves to create the destructive realm teleportation technique, one was their teacher. That teacher was someone with heaven-defying talent. The other was Emperor Jueyun, who had died a long time ago. Emperor Jueyun had once become a cosmos god in the Tao of Void, and had reached the second level of cosmos god. It was understandable for him to deduce the destructive realm teleportation technique with such a deep foundation. But just the primal chaos realm Dongwu Shuang deduced it. That was too unfathomable. Learning a secret technique was comparatively easier. After all, the predecessors had placed the cultivation technique in front of them, and one only had to know how to use it. But creating the destructive realm teleportation technique was much harder. According to what I know, Emperor Jueyun knew it in the past too. Myriad Realm Tavern Master said. Did he learn it from Emperor Jueyun? Humph. Mount Chime coldly snorted. Is it important where he learned it from? It isn't. More importantly, after the death of Emperor Jueyun, the destructive realm teleportation technique became exclusive to our lineage. Now that Dongwu Shuang has learned it, we are no longer exclusive to him. If teacher was here, he would likely be willing to eliminate this Dongwu Shuang. Myriad Realm Tavern Master nodded. He admitted that what his junior disciple brother said was right. Out of the three of them, the Myriad World Tavern Master had the best personality. However, he still built the Myriad World Tavern and made countless cultivators become assassins, killing people everywhere. His temperament was cold and aloof, and he wasn't too willing to get involved in the disputes between various forces. However, given Master's temper, he would probably kill Dongwu Shuang for the destructive realm teleportation technique. As a disciple, he naturally had to do his job well. And let me take a look and see if he really knows the destructive realm teleportation technique. Once I confirm it, I'll find a chance to get rid of him. Myriad Realm Tavern Master said. Scarlet-browed Mountain Master revealed a cold smile. He had eliminated Dongwu Shuang. In the future, Cosmos gods could only come and beg him for help when they searched for golden armored graded lairs. After a while, Myriad Realm Tavern Master quickly found traces of Dongwu Shuang. He used his avatar to spy on Dongwu Shuang from a long distance. Phew! The white-robed Dongwu Shuang was currently outside a concealed cavern dwelling in the primal chaos void. He directly cast his illusory realm to investigate the other party, and after confirming that he wasn't a destruction devil. After confirming that there weren't any destruction devils, Dongwu Shuang began searching for his next destination. Very soon, he confirmed his target and directly teleported to a nearby location. One could see the void by the side distorting, and Dongwu Shuang disappeared. He was searching through every single location. And the avatar of Myriad Realm Tavern Master was also watching stealthily. Destructive Realm Teleportation Technique. Myriad Realm Tavern Master had observed it many times. His old face became colder. It is indeed the Destructive Realm Teleportation Technique. He was 100% confident. Myriad Realm Tavern Master opened his eyes and looked at Mount Chime by the side. Senior disciple brother, how is it? Mount Chime asked. He is indeed using the Destructive Realm Teleportation Technique. It is time to get rid of him. Myriad Realm Tavern Master continued. but you have to question him personally so that it will be easier for you to judge. He has relied on the foundational technique obtained from the illusory realm to deduce the destructive realm teleportation technique. He even learned it from Emperor Julian. We have to try our best to sever that inheritance of theirs. Although Dongbua Shuiying has only grasped a portion of it, it is still better to get rid of him as soon as possible. Amen. Mount Chime nodded. Dongbua Shuiying was indeed walking on the right path. If he was given enough time, he might really be able to create a similar inheritance to theirs. In the blink of an eye, several days passed. In the wilderness. Dongbua Shuiying appeared in the wilderness. He immediately used an illusory realm to descend, enveloping a hidden underground cave dwelling. Amen? Dongbua Shuiying's expression suddenly changed. Not far away, a figure walked out from a distortion in midair. It was Mount Chime who was emitting a cold, baleful aura. Mount Chime stood in midair staring coldly at Dongbua Shuiying, roaring. Hall Master Dongbua, aren't your methods too shameless? Shameless? Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Mount Chime, are you saying that I'm shameless? Dongbua Shuiying felt puzzled. What did I do? Is it because I dealt with you using the illusory realm previously? Mount Chime carefully observed the expression of Dongbua Shuiying. If the other party had truly relied on the illusory realm to obtain the foundational cultivation technique from the ordinary disciples, he should have been exposed when he was being questioned. Naturally, this did not exclude the possibility of him being stubborn. I'm not talking about this matter. You have been searching for the destruction devils all over the world, and I'm too lazy to bicker with you about the illusory realm. But do you really think that nobody knows what you did? Mount Chime sneered. Previously, you saw me teleporting through an ultra-long distance, and saw my teleportation technique. Unless you still want to justify yourself? Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Teleportation? That's right. How good was his memory? Previously, when Mount Chime teleported over, the distortion of the void was exactly the same as his ultra-long distance teleportation. Both relied on the black fog spherical holes to teleport, and the disturbances were minimal. I believe many people in the primal chaos void and 5 great sacred worlds know about my ultra-long distance teleportation. Dongbua Shuiying shook his head. I've used it many times in the Void Castle. This is an innate technique I obtained after cultivating the ancient cultivation technique after reaching the primal chaos realm. Why? Is there a problem with my innate talent in ancient cultivation? Innate talent in ancient cultivation? What a joke! Mount Chime pointed at Dongbua Shuiying and roared. This is the destructive realm teleportation technique unique to our lineage. The innate talent in ancient cultivation is bestowed by the Supreme Law, and what is bestowed is within the scope of the Supreme Law. The destructive realm teleportation technique has already started peering beyond the primal chaos void, so how could it be bestowed by the Supreme Law? What kind of joke are you talking about? Dongbua Shuiying shook his head. This I do not know. There are all sorts of innate talents in ancient cultivation. Even the ability to alter the past by a small margin can appear. Even the prophecy talent can appear, so what about my teleportation talent? As for your so-called destructive realm teleportation technique, this is the first time I've heard of it. What you mean is that you didn't learn this teleportation technique by relying on the illusory realm? Mount Chime sneered. Mount Chime, I don't have time to speak with you. Dongbua Shuiying immediately wanted to leave. It was pointless to speak any further. Did you learn this teleportation technique from Emperor Julian? Mount Chime suddenly asked. Dongbua Shuiying's figure did not stop. He directly teleported. First, he hid far away. Standing in the air above the vast wilderness, Dongbua Shuiying's heart was filled with many thoughts. I thought that after I advanced to the primal chaos realm, I would be able to execute ultra-long distance teleportation without any flaws. However, Mount Chime's lineage seems to have a deep understanding of this. They even said that the innate talent of ancient cultivation is bestowed by the Supreme Law. This is something that can peer beyond the primal chaos void, and wouldn't be bestowed upon? It seems like their lineage has a deep understanding of the primal chaos void. This might be troublesome, But Dongbue Shuiying wasn't afraid. At his level, there weren't many things that could make him afraid. Just as Dongbue Shuiying was about to execute his ultra-long-distance teleportation technique, he suddenly felt a trace of killing intent within his law domain. His heart tightened. Chapter 997. Dongbue Shuiying's law domain was constructed according to the illusory realm. Being the strongest expert in the primal chaos void illusory realm, there were very few who could infiltrate into his law domain stealthily. As long as Dongbue Shuiying was at his location, an unseen law domain would envelop the surrounding 50,000 kilometers. It was just like the real world being enveloped by a layer of illusory realm. Hua, at the moment when the enemy erupted, Dongbue Shuiying's law domain also erupted. The surrounding 50,000 kilometers region immediately turned grotesque and motley. Many layers of the world started distorting, and Dongbue Shuiying felt as though he was standing in the deepest part of the many layers of the world. The originally calm wilderness on the ground started distorting and turning into an old man. The wild beasts that were originally sprinting in the distance also distorted and turned into an old man. Even the short trees in the wilderness distorted and turned into an old man. Deep within the ground, an old man formed. Many old men appeared, and a total of more than 1,000 old men killed their way into the law domain. They looked exactly the same. It was as though their bodies did not exist at all. Myriad Realm Tavern Master! Dongbue Shuiying was greatly startled. I have actually been discovered. Myriad Realm Tavern Master was slightly startled too. His teacher's lineage focused more on cultivating his fleshy body. Hence, he had many avatars, though his attainments in the void were slightly weaker and had yet to reach the pinnacle of voidification. If he were to reach the pinnacle of voidification like the destruction devils who had the shadowless talent, he could easily sneak into the side of Dongbue Shuiying without being discovered. There were gains and losses. He chose this path of having many avatars, allowing him to not fear the great apocalypse of the primal chaos void. He was not afraid even when facing a terrifying existence like the Sacred Master. But his combat strength was slightly weaker. His junior disciple brother, Mount Chime, had chosen a path that was stronger in combat. But his junior disciple brother was merely at the primal chaos realm. Hong! At the moment when Dongbue Shuiying discovered him, an enormous fiery red god bird, Cinnabar, appeared behind him. It flapped its wings, causing a fiery red aura to spread out. Layers of illusory realms spread out in all directions, and every avatar of Myriad Realm Tavern Master was being assaulted. Even though he has more than 1,000 avatars, it seems that all of them are very weak? You seem to be weaker than me? Dongbue Shuiying mumbled inwardly. That's right. If every avatar had the strength of an ordinary cosmos god, then Myriad Realm Tavern Master would have been unparalleled. In reality, the Myriad Realm Tavern Master was never known for his fighting prowess. Even Jie Zhu and Wu Zhu were stronger than him. Although the illusion realm that he cast was powerful, the Myriad Realm Tavern Master could still easily resist it. Of course, he had to divert some of his heart power to resist it. Kill! Over 1,000 old men invaded from different directions, and suddenly, every one of them distorted and became blurry. A gigantic head of an old man that blotted out the sun appeared. It covered an area of 10 million li, and it also enveloped Dongbue Shuiying's illusory realm domain. The moment he opened his mouth, boundless darkness descended, wanting to devour Dongbue Shuiying. Hua hua hua! Huge black flower buds appeared one after another. Because he had absorbed the energy of quite a few destruction devils after their deaths, his soul had become slightly stronger. At the same time, when he maintained the 10th transformation of Cinnabar, he could also unleash 8 9-petaled flowers. All the 9-petaled flowers were wrapped around one another, with a white-robed Dongbue Shuiying located at the center. Dongbue Shuiying had also activated the 2 secret treasures on his body. Under the activation of the 12 primal beads bracelet, layers of light covered his body. At the same time, the surface of Dongbue Shuiying's white robe was also emitting a golden light. The surface of his body was also covered in a blue light. The enormous head of the Myriad Realm Tavern Master swallowed everything in the region of 500,000 kilometers. Dongwu Shui Ying's surroundings had also fallen into darkness, though he did not panic at all. He was still protected by the two secret treasures. Furthermore, his law domain was completely unleashed. The illusory realm enveloped him, and there were layers of protection from the 8 flower buds. Chi chi chi! Many strands of white light appeared in the darkness. However, the 9-petaled flowers protecting Dongwu Shuiying were all hidden within the illusory realm. Those strands of white light had forcibly penetrated through the layers of world obstructions, causing 30% of its power to be depleted before striking on the 9-petaled flower's petals. He was indeed the leader of the largest assassin organization in the primal chaos void, the Myriad Realm Tavern. Even though the 9-petaled flower's petals were relatively tough, they were still cut apart by Mount Chaime's attack, much less the killing technique of the Myriad Realm Tavern Master. Many strands of white light penetrated through the obstruction of the illusory realm, and rapidly penetrated through the 9-petaled flowers, causing the 9-petaled flowers to start collapsing. But at the same time, new 9-petaled flowers were also appearing around Dongwu Shuiying. But the speed at which the white light penetrated was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had penetrated through 11 layers of 9-petaled flowers, of which 3 were formed later. Wang! Dongwu Shuiying remained standing there calmly. The 12-layered dimmed light barrier was incomparably tough. Under the assault of those white light, merely the 2 outermost light barriers were penetrated before the white light dissipated. Just these techniques? Dongwu Shuiying looked at the endless darkness around him. Saying this move was slow, but in reality, this exchange between cosmos gods had happened in an instant. Nevertheless, before the killing technique could finish him off, Dongwu Shuiying had sufficient time to execute an ultra-long distance teleportation. Hence, Dongwu Shuiying became more relaxed. The survival secret treasure given to me by Wu Zhu and the others is indeed extraordinary. Dongwu Shuiying thought. Wu Zhu and the others had mentioned it before. Only Sacred Master could break through the protection of the 12 primal beads bracelet. As for Myriad Realm Tavern Master? Dongwu Shuiying felt that it was possible for him to survive this wave of killing technique even without relying on the secret treasures. Naturally, being confident was one thing. He would not be so foolish as to not use the 2 secret treasures he had. Hua! In the endless darkness, an old man appeared. He was Myriad Realm Tavern Master. This is the new secret treasure that Wu Zhu refined for you. Myriad Realm Tavern Master looked at the 12-layered dimmed light barrier on the surface of Dongwu Shuiying's body. After penetrating through the illusory world and the 9-petaled flower, only 60% of his killing technique remained. Feeling the power of the light barrier, Myriad Realm Tavern Master understood that he would need some time to break through it. Because this killing technique required time to accumulate power. He had been hiding and accumulating power for this wave of assassination. If the assassination failed, Dongwu Shuiying could easily escape with his destructive realm teleportation technique. Hence, Myriad Realm Tavern Master understood that he had failed. Right. Dongwu Shuiying nodded. Wu Zhu and the others seem to regard you highly. Myriad Realm Tavern Master said. Let me ask you, where did you learn your destructive realm teleportation technique? Ancient cultivation aptitude. Dongwu Shuiying said. Impossible. Myriad Realm Tavern Master shook his head. The Supreme Law would never bestow such an aptitude. Oh? Is that so? Could it be that you guys have grasped the Supreme Law and are so confident? Dongwu Shuiying retorted. Myriad Realm Tavern Master was stunned. Grasp the Supreme Law? Forget about him, even his master, the founder of this lineage, had not reached this stage. It was extremely difficult to grasp the Supreme Law. This Dongwu Shuiying is right. Without grasping the Supreme Law, maybe Master's deduction might not be correct? Could it be that ancient cultivation aptitude really allows one to possess the destructive realm teleportation technique? Myriad Realm Tavern Master thought. But after cultivating to Master's level, the possibility of his deduction being wrong is extremely low. Previously, He thought that Dongwu Shuang had secretly learned their lineage's basic method to deduce the teleportation technique, or learned it from Emperor Julian. But now, he felt that there was a small possibility. It was truly an ancient cultivation aptitude. The supreme law was ultimately hard to comprehend. I've experienced Myriad Realm Tavern Master's assassination technique. Dongwu Shuang smiled. The void beside him distorted and he took a step forward before vanishing. In the wilderness, Mount Chai-mei was also looking at the huge commotion far away. Following that, it suddenly calmed down, and an old man appeared beside him. Senior brother. Mount Chai-mei looked at the old man. I failed. The old man shook his head. Chapter 998. Why did you fail? Senior disciple brother, you couldn't even kill Dongwu Shuang? Mount Chai-mei anxiously asked. Even though his senior disciple brother of this lineage was biased towards the fleshy body and had many avatars, his survivability was heaven-defying. But in terms of assassination techniques, he should be at the peak of the first-level Cosmos God. How could he not deal with a primal Chaos Realm expert? Myriad Realm Tavern Master shook his head. Scarlet eyebrows, this Dongwu Shuang has two great secret treasures on him. In addition to his profound illusory realm, it is impossible for Wu Zhu and Jia Zhu to assassinate him. I am different from you. You specialize more in voidification and close combat. If you could become a cosmos god, I believe you could stealthily assassinate him. Mount Chai-mei felt frustrated and helpless when he heard that. In his opinion, his senior disciple brother was trash. That time, he knew he should choose the strongest survival technique. His senior disciple brother was comparable to his teacher, and it was practically impossible for him to kill the other party. Actually, this lineage of theirs was formidable in survivability. Mount Chai-mei was considered weak in terms of survivability, but if he became a cosmos god, he could reach the pinnacle of voidification. Furthermore, he had the avatar technique, allowing him to create a total of 9 avatars. By then, he could assassinate and threaten those second-level cosmos gods. His techniques were considered perfect. But 9 great avatars and the pinnacle of voidification would still fall before the great apocalypse of the primal chaos void. But with the help of his teacher, he could escape from that final calamity. What a fool. He only knows how to survive, yet he is so weak. As for the great apocalypse of the primal chaos void, can I just ask my teacher for help? Mount Chai-mei thought. And Myriad Realm Tavern Master determined that he had to rely on himself. Even though Myriad Realm Tavern Master was cold and selfish, he did not have great ambitions. You are afraid of death, yet you have spoiled my plans. Mount Chai-mei was slightly anxious. If Dongwu Shuang did not die, why would cosmos gods ask him to search for golden armored graded lairs? Senior disciple brother, I want to contact teacher. Mount Chai-mei said. Contact teacher? Myriad Realm Tavern Master was startled. Yes. Mount Chai-mei nodded. We can't let this Dongwu Shuang live. If he lives, he will learn more and more destructive realm teleportation techniques. Who knows, he might even be able to create a clone technique one day. Then contact him. Myriad Realm Tavern Master said. He also understood his junior brother's true thoughts. It was most likely because of those origin world rocks. He knew that his junior brother was proud and arrogant. He was different from him. His junior brother, Mount Chai-mei, was very ambitious. Mount Chai-mei nodded. Both of them had a way to contact their master, but in front of his master, Mount Chai-mei was still in awe. This was because he was different from his senior brother. His senior brother did not rely on his master and was free and unfettered. He needed his master's help in many aspects, so he naturally had to coax his master. Hua! Formless fluctuations permeated the surroundings, and the supreme laws retreated. A transparent figure appeared. It was a bird-headed transparent figure. His voice reverberated around. Myriad Realm, Red Eyebrows, you too are looking for me? Master. The Myriad World Tavern Master bowed respectfully. the favor of imparting the Tao to him, and the person who led the way was naturally respectful to his master. Teacher, there is someone called Dong Bo Shuang in this primal chaos void. He is actually able to execute the destructive realm teleportation technique. He has been casting illusory realms all over the place. I suspect that he has relied on the illusory realms to search for the fundamental cultivation techniques from my disciples and senior disciple brother Myriad Realms disciples. After that, Scarlet-browed Mountain Master immediately began explaining. The transparent figure was very calm when he heard that. Kill? If you want to kill, then kill. There is no need to ask me. Senior brother's assassination failed, so there is nothing we can do for now. Mount Chime said. I am being suppressed in this primal chaos void, so I can't help you. If there is nothing else, then I shall leave. The transparent figure said coldly. Mount Chime hesitated and didn't dare to persuade him. He was clear of the temper of his teacher. Since his teacher did not agree, then persuading him would only make his teacher unhappy. Since he could coax his teacher into such a happy mood, he naturally understood the temper of his teacher. Senior brother, and I will think of another way. Farewell, master. Mount Chime immediately bowed respectfully. In the end, he even mentioned his senior brother, expressing that this matter was the thoughts of the two of them. Farewell, master, Myriad Realm Tavern Master said. He was relatively indifferent. He was casually being used by his junior disciple brother. Since their strength was different, their mentality was different too. Myriad Realm Tavern Master could simply watch as the primal chaos void was destroyed. Hence, he just laughed off the little thoughts of his junior disciple brother. Cultivate properly and break through to the Cosmos God realm as soon as possible. The transparent figure ordered before disappearing. Only Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime were left in this piece of wilderness. Junior disciple brother, Master is being suppressed in this primal chaos void, and I can't do anything about it. I can't kill Dongbush Shuang either. Myriad Realm Tavern Master finished speaking before dissipating. Mount Chime stood alone in the wilderness with a gloomy expression. Can't do anything about it? Being suppressed by the primal chaos void? Old fellow! You are too stingy. I don't believe I can't kill that Dongbush Shuang just by giving him a formidable void-related secret treasure. Mount Chime felt frustrated inwardly. He was clear how deep the foundation of his teacher was. Even if he was suppressed by the primal chaos void, he would still have ways to kill Dongbush Shuang. It was just a matter of whether the other party was willing to pay the price or not. Clearly, his teacher was too lazy to waste his effort on a primal chaos brat. Furthermore, his teacher was too arrogant. He did not care if Dongbush Shuang learned a bit from Emperor Jiuyun or deduced some basic techniques. Because this lineage of inheritance of his was vast and profound. He did not believe that Dongbush Shuang could deduce much without receiving the inheritance. After all, that time, Emperor Jiuyun could not deduce the avatar technique even before his death. One had to know that the destructive realm teleportation technique and avatar technique were merely the foundation of this lineage of his. Even Mount Chime knew the avatar technique. After Dongbush Shuang was assassinated, he was directly teleported back to the Great Void Heaven Temple. Within the Great Void Heaven Temple, Void Primogenitor and Wu Zhu had their incarnations staying at Dongbush Shuiying's place. They were currently researching the scaled armor left behind by General Mo Gu. Using the words of Void Primogenitor, it is too profound. The voidification on this scaled armor is too simple. If I could research it thoroughly, I might be able to improve further in the void. He was clearly obsessed with it. As for Wu Zhu, he loved researching all mysterious items. Pinnacle of voidification? Wu Zhu naturally desired it. He hoped to carve this scaled armor inscription into his body, allowing him to have the technique to pinnacle of voidification. By then, he would be more confident when facing the sacred master. Dongbush Shuang, how is your comprehension? Wu Zhu's incarnation saw Dongbush Shuang walking over and shouted passionately. I have some gains. Dongbush Shuang walked over. Wu Zhu was very willing to interact with Dongbush Shuang. This assassination had caused Dongbush Shuang to reflect on many things. He had even ordered his children and wife not to leave the Great Void Heaven Temple without his permission. Time passed. The primal chaos voids Heaven Green World. This was Mount Chimei's territory. A cold and desolate palace was constructed at the peak of a mountain. There were only a dozen female servants in this palace, which was considered very few. Mount Chimei sat alone on his throne. His gaze pierced through the palace door, looking at the vast primal chaos void far away. Dongbush Shuang. Mount Chimei had been thinking of a way. He had to get rid of him. If he did not get rid of him, the huge business he had planned, the huge amount of origin world stones would be gone. He has 2 life-saving treasures on him? Senior disciple brother said that even Ancestor Jiezu and Ancestor Mother could hardly kill him, and only Sacred Master can kill him? Mount Chimei did not dare believe it. That group of cosmos gods actually treat Dongbush Shuang so highly and treat him so well? But he did not know. The destruction devils that sneaked in suspected that there was a king within, and asked Dongbush Shuang to take the risk to investigate. Naturally, they had to give Dongbush Shuang some life-saving treasures. At that time, when Dongbush Shuang discovered a golden armored graded lair, it made Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu even more delighted. Naturally, they brought out the most suitable life-saving treasures for primal chaos existences. What should I do? Mount Chimei pondered. He always had a method in his heart, though he was hesitating because it would mean offending an extremely terrifying existence. There is no other way. I can only use Sacred Master to kill Dongbush Shuang. Mount Chimei's eyes were filled with coldness. Chapter 999. It was too easy to make use of Sacred Master because cosmos gods coveted their lineage of inheritance. And the strongest expert in the primal chaos void, Sacred Master, was the greediest of them all. He had already used all methods. That time, he had either threatened or enticed them. He had even personally acted against Mount Chimei and killed Mount Chimei. It's a pity that the core inheritance of their lineage had to be cultivated in the Avatar technique. Thus, Sacred Master could not obtain the true core inheritance of this lineage despite thinking of all sorts of methods. Even someone as powerful as Sacred Master was not good in many aspects. He could not unravel the techniques left behind by Emperor Jueyun. Sacred Master is crazy in wanting to obtain the inheritance of our lineage. If he knew that Dongbush Shuang has deduced part of our lineage, Mount Chimei sneered inwardly, he would most likely act immediately. It's just that he was killed by Sacred Master before that he was not too willing to offend Sacred Master. But this time, he could not care about it anymore. He decided to borrow this blade of Sacred Master. Within the dark palace hall, the calm water in the pool gradually condensed and transformed into a figure of water. There was a silver light circulating around its body. It was Master Jiaming, who had an extremely high position in the ancient saint cult. Master Jiaming's strength was at the 9th level, and he was skilled in tracking. Moreover, he could predict the future. His innate talent in predicting the future caused the Saint Master to attach great importance to him, and he was entrusted with heavy responsibilities. Master Jiaming. Within the palace hall, there was a primal chaos expert shrouded in black robes bowing respectfully. There's news from the Heaven Green World. Oh? What news? The water incarnation of Master Jiaming asked. I've found news regarding part of the core inheritance of the lineage, this primal chaos expert said. Master Jiaming was startled too. There were not many things that Sacred Master desired. Other than grasping the supreme law which was his most important goal, the inheritance of Myriad Realm Tavern Master Mount Chimei and the others, was ranked in the top 3 in importance. Sacred Master had personally acted many times, disguising his identity and concealing his aura. One could see how much he valued it. It's a pity that the core inheritance of that lineage was too secretive, and Sacred Master could not obtain it. The Saint Master could only instruct his subordinates. Hence, the ancient sacred religion had long since thought of ways to find those who did not have a soul imprint, but truly believed in the same master from the bottom of their hearts. Among them, there were some who became disciples of the myriad world tavern master and Mount Chime. Even the servants and maids were infiltrated by the ancient saint cult. Our spies have discovered an extremely important piece of news. Part of the core inheritance of their lineage should have been grasped by Dongbu Shuang of the Great Void Heaven Temple, the black-robed chaotic realm expert said respectfully. How did you find out? Tell me in detail. Yes, at that time, Master Jiaming silently listened. His main body began to investigate what had happened in the past based on this piece of information. He could predict the future, so he could naturally see part of the past. The past had already happened, so it was relatively easy to pry into it. This was also the reason why Master Jiaming was in charge of this matter. While listening and checking, Lord Jiaming also made a judgment in his heart. Swoosh. Moments later, Master Jiaming's main body personally went to the Sacred Master, within the most dazzling palace in the ancient sacred world. On the crystalline black stone bed, Sacred Master sat cross-legged by himself. He wore a black muslin robe, and his expression was calm and gentle. Just by sitting there, it felt as though he would exist eternally even if the primal chaos void was destroyed. Nothing could threaten him, not even the supreme law that stood high above. This was because his very existence already possessed a portion of the supreme laws. Who? A figure walked in from outside. That was a white-robed male. He walked in barefooted, and the servants in the palace hall did not obstruct him. Sacred Master. The eyes of the white-robed male were filled with wisdom, as though he could see through everything. He bowed respectfully. Sacred Master opened his eyes and looked down at the white-robed male. Even though he could see part of the future, the white-robed barefooted male Master Jiaming was still respectful when facing Sacred Master. Because the more he could see the future, the more he could feel how powerful Sacred Master was. In all the timelines he could see, Sacred Master was always high above. Furthermore, if he tried to see Sacred Master in the future timelines, he would suffer from a backlash, and he could no longer see the future. He understood that Sacred Master's strength had already faintly surpassed the control of the Supreme Law. Even with his talent, it was hard for him to see through Sacred Master's future. Even if it was the future that he predicted, an existence like Sacred Master could still change the future. I've received a piece of news. The white-robed barefooted male, Master Jiaming, said with a gentle voice. It's a piece of news sent back by a disciple that we sent to infiltrate Mount Chime. They said that Mount Chime was infuriated because of Dongbu Shuang and was in an extremely bad mood. They even mentioned the words secretly learning. After investigating, I discovered that not long ago, Mount Chime had once thought of ways to deal with Dongbu Shuang. In fact, I even suspect that the Myriad World Tavern Master had already acted. However, I was unable to see the scene of him acting. According to many investigations, we can deduce that it should be true that Dongbu Shuang grasped part of their core inheritance. Myriad World Tavern Master and Mount Chime may have both acted in order to kill Dongbu Shuang. Master Jiaming said, and Mount Chime has unintentionally leaked some information. I suspect that he is doing it on purpose so that he can use us to kill that Dongbu Shuang. I've investigated the past. According to the conversation between him and Dongbu Shuang, I know that Dongbu Shuang has grasped the destructive realm teleportation technique. Mount Chime has always been negotiating with Wu Zhu, Jie Zhu, and the other cosmos gods. If Dongbu Shuang grasped the destructive realm teleportation technique, then Wu Zhu, Jie Zhu, and the others would no longer spend a huge sum of origin world rocks to hire him. This might be the reason why he is determined to kill Dongbu Shuang. Master Jiaming calmly stated his deduction. Sacred Master was listening silently from above. Deliberately leaking it? It wasn't important to Sacred Master whether it was intentional or not. What was important was whether Dongbu Shuang had truly obtained part of the core inheritance. Dongbu Shuang? Sacred Master softly muttered. This was the first time he had truly paid attention to Dongbu Shuang. Even though he understood many information regarding cultivators, he had thrown it to the back of his mind. Amongst the external superpowers, other than Black Emperor and Mount Chime, he did not place any other primal chaos experts in his eyes. And now, he was paying attention to Dongbu Shuiying. 1. The eyes of Sacred Master calmly watched. His eyes were faintly filled with many illusions. In terms of tracing, even though Master Jiaming was formidable, he could not compare to Sacred Master. Even when Myriad Realm Tavern Master assassinated Dongbu Shuiying, Sacred Master could easily spy on it. Only the scene of Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime conversing with their teacher was completely disrupted, and Sacred Master could not spy on it. That old fellow has sneaked in once too? The edge of Sacred Master's lips curled upwards. Dongbu Shuiying deduced part of their core inheritance, or did he obtain it from Emperor Julian? Sacred Master was quick to judge. No matter which outcome it was, he was very satisfied. Because Emperor Jiuyun had an extremely important secret treasure that he desired greatly, the 3 Fire Prison Realms Cauldron. That foolish Emperor Jiuyun did not understand how to use the 3 Fire Prison Realms Cauldron even when his realm was not high enough. Dongbu Shuiying, it is time for me to go out and have a walk. Sacred Master stood up and walked down the black stone bed. All the servants and Master Jiaming felt their hearts tightening. They immediately bowed respectfully. Chapter 1000. An enormous illusory realm enveloped this small city. All sentient beings within the small city had fallen into it. All of them had their own experiences within the illusory realm. And in this small city, there was only a white-robed young man who was still awake. He walked alone on the streets, yet he could easily control the experiences of the millions of cultivators within the illusory realm. He had even given some opportunities to those he admired. Some of the evildoers had their souls extinguished in the illusory realm. Ever since I discovered that batch of destruction devils previously, I even killed one with the shadowless talent. After that, I no longer have any gains. The destruction devils are quite vigilant. Dongbu Shuiying softly shook his head. He knew that he would not have any gains this time around. But he was already used to it. He was used to not reaping any rewards. He had long since regarded this as a part of his cultivation. And then? This wine shop in this small city seems to have a good reputation. There are many cultivators who like it. Dongbu Shuiying immediately discovered a place with delicacies within the illusory realm. Hua! With a thought, the illusory realm dissipated. The entire small city regained its normalcy. All sentient beings regained their consciousness. Other than a few who had some opportunities, the others did not know that they had fallen into the illusory realm previously. Amen, this small city actually has such delicacies. The ingredients are ordinary, yet the food is delicious. Dongbu Shuiying placed many plates of meat in front of him. He was enjoying himself. He had visited too many desolate places. Some ancient cultivators had the talent to specialize in delicacies, and eating them was indeed a form of enjoyment. Even his soul felt incomparably comfortable. That wonderful feeling had even surpassed swallowing Origin World rocks. Sitting at a corner of this wine shop, eating and drinking the wine that he brought, Dongbu Shuiying was in a good mood. Sacred Master, who was wearing a black muslin, walked barefoot. He naturally teleported closer to Dongbu Shuiying through an ultra-long distance before stealthily arriving at this small city. Sacred Master walked in from the entrance of the city. Everywhere he passed by, even though there were many people, they would naturally avoid Sacred Master. None of them were aware of the existence of Sacred Master. The Holy Lord stood at one end of the small city and gazed at the tavern several tens of thousands of miles away. Although there were many customers in the tavern and it was very lively, there was only one person that caught the Holy Lord's attention, and that was the white-robed young man who was eating heartily. The Holy Lord took another step forward and silently traversed hundreds of thousands of miles, arriving not far away from the tavern. Dongbu Shuiying was initially very relaxed and carefree, but suddenly, his expression changed drastically. Danger! The law domain immediately activated upon sensing an extremely terrifying existence. Shui Ying's life instinctively let out a frightening warning: danger! Extreme danger! That sense of danger and fear instantly drowned Dongbu Shuiying. The threat brought by the life rating caused Dongbu Shuiying to tremble uncontrollably. In front of him, he saw a barefooted man in a black robe walking on the crowded street. His eyes were gentle and kind as he looked at Dongbu Shuiying. At this moment, the world seemed to have disappeared. The surrounding city had disappeared too. All living beings had disappeared, leaving behind only him and the distant Holy Lord. The circulating supreme laws had already retreated a long time ago. The Sacred Lord's law domain instantly destroyed his illusion, causing him to be completely trapped within the Sacred Lord's domain. Given the strength of his soul, he was barely able to activate 2 life-saving secret treasures. Hong! Hong! The 12 primal beads bracelet was activated. 12 layers of light covered the surface of his body. The 3-colored heavy cloud robe on his body also released a golden light. The surface was even wrapped in a blue light. Holy Lord, how could it be the Holy Lord? Dongbu Shuiying felt startled in his heart. What identity did the Holy Lord have? Why would he act against a primal chaos expert? Furthermore, the 3 great sacred worlds and the 2 great religions had a tacit understanding. During this period of recuperation, unless a primal chaos expert offended a cosmos god. Otherwise, cosmos gods would not act against a primal chaos expert. Otherwise, wouldn't it be terrible if the strong bullied the weak? It would likely incite a large-scale war. A large-scale war would only result in both sides suffering. The Holy Lord would not easily act either. Why would he act against me? Dongbu Shuiying was still thinking when an unseen energy penetrated through the 12 layers of light. As for the 3-colored heavy cloud, it was even more useless. Even if Dongbu Shuiying's body was powerful in voidification, this unseen energy had still enveloped the body of Dongbu Shuiying. It was absolutely cold. It felt as if his body and soul had been frozen. Dongbu Shuiying's soul had been sealed. It was only for an instant. Dongbu Shuiying could only activate 2 secret treasures. He did not even have the time to stand up. One could see how fast and ferocious the other party was. The 12 primal beads bracelet might be formidable, and even Jie Zhu and Wu Zhu needed a moment or 2 to break through it, but every move of the Holy Lord was suppressing Jie Zhu and Wu Zhu. At this moment, he wanted to capture Dongbu Shuiying alive, and naturally, he would not allow any accidents to happen. The first thing he did was to use thunderous methods, instantly sealing Dongbu Shuiying's soul. So weak. Dongbu Shuiying's heart turned cold. This was only because he had secret treasures. If he didn't have them, the terrifying law domain of the Holy Lord would be able to trample on him easily. Holy Lord walked over. Although he seemed to be walking slowly, he appeared beside Dongbu Shuiying in a single step and casually grabbed hold of Dongbu Shuiying's body. Boom! The surrounding space started to distort, and one could faintly see the gigantic palace on the other side. Holy Lord grabbed hold of Dongbu Shuiying's body, and with a single step, he arrived at the ancient saint world on the other side. Everything happened too quickly. Dongbu Shuiying was first in a daze before his heart turned cold. He knew that it was over for him. If he landed in the hands of Holy Lord, who would be able to save him? Furthermore, this was the territory of Holy Lord, the ancient sacred world. The ancient sacred world was protected by the ancient sacred incarnation, and was impregnable. It was futile even if all other cosmos gods worked together to attack. Even if they started a war, Wu Zhu, Jie Zhu, and the others would not choose to fight in the ancient sacred world. Fighting with Holy Lord there was the most foolish thing to do. Why did he act against me? I am just a primal chaos realm expert. What do I have that is worth him acting? Unless he knows that I am the disciple of Gu Qi? No, if he knew, he would have just casually killed me. After all, my teacher Gu Qi was directly killed by him, and there is no need for him to capture me alive. Dongbu Shuiying was pondering over it. He must have a reason to capture me alive. Is he standing on the side of the destruction devils? It shouldn't be. He was an absolute overlord during the era of the primitive ancient sacred world. Because of Emperor Julian? He had always wanted to kill Emperor Julian in the past, and he knows that I have reaped some benefits from Emperor Julian. Or is it Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime? Previously, they failed to assassinate me, and now they are thinking of ways to get Holy Master to act? Dongbush Shuang had many guesses at this moment. But they were ultimately just guesses. I'm afraid I'm doomed this time. I can't escape anymore. Dongbush Shuang felt helpless too. The attack was too fast, and he could not react in time. Currently, I am sealed. Can that Realm Heart Order help me? Dongbush Shuiying's soul was currently occupied by the energy of the Realm Heart Order. That time when the Realm Heart Order fused into his soul, he could not expel it at all. At this moment, Dongbush Shuang attempted to fuse a strand of his true soul into it. Chapter 1001. The scarlet energy formed by the Realm Heart Order had always been entrenched deep within the soul of Dongbush Shuang. He could not expel it. At this moment, Dongbush Shuang fused a strand of true spirit into this scarlet energy easily. Furthermore, there was a feeling of eagerness. Dongbush Shuang could even vaguely feel the world beyond the primal chaos void. Just like how he peered through the black fog spherical hole to peer into a higher dimension world. But that was merely the tip of the iceberg. Currently, when a strand of true spirit fused into the Realm Heart Order energy, he could feel the vastness beyond the primal chaos void. There was even a faint terrifying fluctuation not any weaker than that of the primal chaos void. I can activate it with a thought? Dongbush Shuang understood the moment he fused with it. The Realm Heart Order was refined by a mysterious and ancient existence, Yuan. It helped cultivators reincarnate into another huge world not any weaker than the primal chaos void, the Realm Heart Great Land. To protect his true spirit and travel from the primal chaos void to the Realm Heart Great Land, he had to reincarnate. What he consumed was the energy of the Realm Heart Order. As for Dongbush Shuang, his energy was useless. It was impossible for him to do so at his level. Under normal circumstances, cultivators had reached a bottleneck for too long and were close to despair. That was why they would abandon their fleshy body and soul, choosing to reincarnate with a strand of true spirit. Wanting to return? One had to become a cosmos god before he could activate the energy of the Realm Heart Order. If he did not break through, he would die in the Realm Heart Great Land. Who would have thought that I, Dongbush Shuang, would be forced to this stage? Dongbush Shuang felt bitter in his heart. Pen. Dongbush Shuiying's body was thrown into the palace hall. He knocked against a pillar by the side. His body leaned against the pillar before slowly standing up. His strength was sealed. Even his soul was sealed, and he could only use the most fundamental fleshy body strength. This fleshy body strength could not even kill him under normal circumstances. After all, his level of life was too high, and his fleshy body strength could not injure his soul. But by relying on the Realm Heart Order, Dongbush Shuang could reincarnate into another world. It was also considered committing suicide on another level. The hall was silent, and the servants didn't dare to make a sound. The Saint Master leisurely walked up to the black stone bed and sat down cross-legged. He looked down at Dongbush Shuang and said, Dongbush Shuang, I can promise you that as long as you are obedient, you will live. This is my promise, and I won't break it for a little guy like you. Saint Master, you're really thinking too highly of me to deal with me personally, Dongbush Shuang said calmly. In the 5 sacred worlds of the primal chaos void, there aren't many who are qualified to be my opponent. The one with the greatest potential is the Sword Master from your great Void Heaven Temple. Even I suffered a small loss. Sacred Master sat there. I've heard that your talent isn't bad, and your cultivation is fast. Who knows, you might become a cosmos god one day. It's not worth it to die like this. What request does Sacred Master have? Please tell me directly, Dongbush Shuang said. I've heard that you have grasped part of the core inheritance from the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime? Sacred Master said. I'm very interested. Part of the core inheritance. It's really them. Dongbua Shuang felt relatively frustrated in his heart. That was too ruthless. He had never learned any cultivation techniques from their lineage. They merely discovered that his ultra-long-distance teleportation technique was similar to theirs, and they thought that he had stolen it. It was fine if they failed to assassinate him, but they even knew about it, and Sacred Master acted personally. Damn! Even though he felt anger and disgust towards Myriad Realm Tavern Master's lineage, he had no other choice. Myriad Realm Tavern Master had countless avatars. Even Scarlet-Browed Mountain Master had an avatar that was hidden and could not be found. Nobody could kill them at all. Facing an enemy that he could not kill, Dongbua Shuang felt frustrated and helpless at the same time. Who would have thought that this ultra-long-distance teleportation technique of Emperor Jiuyun would bring about such a calamity? Dongbua Shuang felt helpless inwardly. He was quite cautious. But he could not possibly not use it after learning this teleportation technique, right? Shuang endured until he reached the primal chaos realm before publicizing it, using the name of an ancient cultivation talent. Previously, nobody doubted him. Many cosmos gods had seen him using it before. There were too many cultivators who saw him using it in the Void Castle. Instead, it was Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chai-Mei who determined that it was impossible for him to have an ancient cultivation talent, and that it was a teleportation technique of their lineage. What identity does Sacred Master have? He is actually helping Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chai-Mei? Dongbua Shuang shook his head. I am not helping them. Instead, I need this inheritance. Sacred Master looked down at Dongbua Shuang. Tell me everything you know. I promise I'll let you leave. He was so easy to talk to. Was it because he relied on the illusory realm to force Dongbua Shuang to take the initiative to speak? It was useless. Dongbua Shuang's illusory realm was stronger than Sacred Master's, and was the strongest among cultivators. Directly searching through the memories of the soul? That was extremely overbearing. If the gap in strength was huge, it was possible. But Dongbua Shuang specialized in the illusory realm, and Cinnabar's inheritance targeted the soul. He had reached the unprecedented 10th transformation, and the strength of his soul far surpassed other 9th-level primal chaos realm experts. The difficulty of searching through the interior of his soul was comparable to that of a cosmos god. Searching the soul? In the end, it would only cause Dongbua Shuang's soul to dissipate. Furthermore, he would only be able to find bits and pieces of it, and not the complete memories. Thus, that was why Sacred Master took the initiative to persuade Shuang and promised to let him go. Unless he had no other choice, he would choose to search the soul. Dongbua Shuang was conversing with Sacred Master. He was deliberately delaying for time. Because he had already decided. It was impossible for him to pass the inheritance of Emperor Jiuyun to Sacred Master. Sacred Master was already so powerful, so why would he allow Sacred Master to increase his techniques? Even without the Realm Heart Order, Sacred Master would never agree to it. Now, he was delaying for time, and arranging everything. I don't have enough time. I have always wanted to find more golden-armored graded lairs, but I don't have the time. Within the Mirage Palace of the Great Void Heaven Temple, Dongbua Shuang's incarnation was located in the courtyard. As long as he chose to reincarnate, his incarnation would dissipate. 3 golden-armored graded lairs. Fortunately, I have left behind a spatial imprint on every single one of them. Dongbua Shuang thought. Previously, he had only sent 2 incarnations to search for golden-armored graded lairs in the Lost World Corridor. It was impossible for him to stay there forever. Hence, he left behind a spatial imprint on an ordinary sealed space close to the golden-armored graded lairs. Adding up the golden-armored graded lairs that I told Sorcerer God and the others about, I, Dongbua Shuang, have found 4 golden-armored graded lairs. It's a pity that I didn't have enough time. As long as I have enough time, with my scouting techniques, I will definitely be able to search through the entire Lost World Corridor. Dongbua Shuang thought. 1,000,000,000,000 years or so. He had only found the tip of the iceberg in searching for the destruction devils in the primal chaos void. But even though the Lost World Corridor was huge, it was much smaller than the primal chaos void. He had already searched through 60 to 70% of the entire region. If he had another trillion years, he would most likely be able to search through every single region without leaving anything out. Snow Eagle, you didn't cultivate? Jing Qiu appeared outside the courtyard. She revealed a joyous look. Because this incarnation of Dongwu Shuang would often cultivate by looking at the scaled armor left behind by General Mo Gu. Jing Qiu. When Dongwu Shuang saw his wife, his heart trembled. Jing Qiu, asked Qin Yao and you were to hurry back. Immediately. Dongwu Shuang said. So urgent? Jing Qiu felt puzzled. Yuer is still in closed-door cultivation,